officially begun. The road to $10,000 runs through the Sin City. This is round number 2 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This one's going to be exciting, folks. 167 laps to run this evening around the 1.5-mile oval. And we have a field of drivers coming off Daytona looking to put their skills to the test for this second round of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Tim Terry here with you. We're going to send it down to the studio momentarily with Tony Stevens and Joe Cortez. And gentlemen, when you look at the previous champions list of this race, you got Jake Sturgis, who's won this race twice, including last year. You got Marcus Lindsay, Brad Davies, and of course Sandeep Banerjee from Mumbai, India, won the inaugural race here in 2010. But those names, when you look at this series, you think Ray Alfala, Michael Conti, Tyler Hudson, guys that have been involved in this series for a long while. Those other names don't really come to mind. Could we see another surprise winner here? Somebody rolling the dice maybe on fuel mileage or rolling the dice on strategy to get into victory lane here this evening? Could we make another chapter here?
Tim, I think you're exactly right. You see all these notes right here? You can take them, you can just throw them away. Do not mean anything when it comes to being here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So glad you guys could join us and welcome inside the PSR TV virtual studio. Myself, Joe Cortez, right over here to my left, and of course Tim already up in the booth getting all the notes that we're probably not going to use throughout the night, ready to roll. And I think, Tim, you're exactly right. And Joe, I think you've got a point. This race really does not lend itself to the stars of this series. Yes, the Nick Ottingers, the Ray Alfalas, the Chad Laughtons, all these big names tend to run well in this race. However, they do not always finish well in this race. Las Vegas is known for being a place where you roll the dice, you gamble a little bit, maybe you take a bet that you wouldn't normally take. Seems like every year we come here with the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, that's exactly what happens. We have a first-timer or an unknown go to victory lane. We saw last week a little bit of a preview, however, with the B-Class Series, the Xfinity Series style car. What do you think we could see tonight in the Peak Antifreeze Series event?
Well, what we saw last week in the Peak Antifreeze Series car is that in the B-Class car here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, is that tires matter. Tires are critical, and tires are critical to a winning strategy here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Now, what are we going to see tonight, Tony? We're going to see a lot of guys biding their time for the first half of this race. Remember, we're going to see 2 or 3 pit stops tonight, probably even 4, but I think the biggest thing here tonight is that guys aren't going to make the same drastic moves they made at Daytona. They are not going to make the same drastic moves you'll see at other mile-and-a-half speedways. Tonight is all about strategy. You're not going to see the big gambles just early in the race, but when it comes down to 30 laps to go, 20 laps to go, 15 laps to go, that's when you're going to start to see the tables start to heat up here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Joe, I think you're right. When it gets down to the end of this race, it certainly is going to be the time we see who has a little bit of something extra, whether that's to go the extra mile on fuel, tires, whatever the case might be. It always seems to come down to those final few laps. We saw last Tuesday, if you're with us on our iRacing night here on Fans Choice TV, that it came down to the last couple of laps. We almost saw a last lap pass for the win, just like we saw in the Xfinity Series race this past Saturday at Las Vegas with Ryan Blaney and Austin Dillon. It was very similar to what we saw just 1 week ago tonight. Will that be exactly how it plays out here? Never know. Multiple grooves, a very different racetrack than most mile-and-a-halves. You run the bottom, you run the top a little bit, you run the middle. There's different places you can make your race car fast. We'll find out who's got the fastest race car, when it's most important, a little bit later. Don't go away. The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series round number 2 is coming up right after this.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got them coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Peak can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval. And that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself. And they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building two tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result, and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy. Welcome back to the iRacing Live and PSR TV coverage of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing, round number 2 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 2 weeks ago, Ray Alfalla took away the first win of the series at Daytona International Speedway. We're going to go down our starting grid in just a few moments' time, but take a look at the webcams that we have here this evening. We'll be looking in at Michael J. Johnson, driver the number 39, and your defending series champion of the number 5 of Michael Conti, who will roll off from position number 6. We'll look in at those as we go on this evening, but before we do throw the green flag, we're going to tell you who is starting where in round number 2. And it kicks off with the 26 of Chad Lawton at a time of 28.82. 1,000th of a second behind him in qualifying, Tony, the 10 of Corey Vincent.
Not too much further behind them, a former series winner, Kenny Humpy, rolls off 3rd, and Taylor Hurst in the 74 starts 4th.
Justin Bolton, the 36 machine, starts on the inside of row number 3. He'll start 5th. On the outside of him, Michael Conti, defending series champion, starts 6th.
Cody Bias in the number 27 rolls off next. To his outside, it is the number 2, your Daytona winner, Ray Alfalla.
PJ Sturgis, family it's won here before, rolls off in 9th, and Benjamin Burmeister rounds out the top 10.
Matt Busa, 34 machine, will start position number 11. On the outside of him, it's a 13, Brad Mahar, position number 12.
Last time we raced, he led the most laps at Daytona. Patrick Crabtree in the 15 to the outside. Another driver who had a great run at Daytona, Nathan Wise, in the 24.
David Rattler is in the 09, and Adam Gilliland in the Gary Mercer Trucking, number 8.
Alex Warren, Alan Bowes, cars number 82 and 21 will start 17th and 18th respectively.
We got the Segpay 32 at Danny Hansen to the outside. Your defending champion of this race, Jake Sturgis.
Justin Trombley and Kevin King will make up row number 11.
Brian Schoenberg, Ryan Lowe, your row number 12.
Brandon Schmidt and Timu Ivan in your next row.
Nick Ottinger also starting out up there at 25th spot. Brad Davies is in the 28th spot, right behind Timu Ivonen.
Trey Eidson and Chris Overland will round out the first 30 positions here on the track.
31st, Brian Blackford in the number 1, Casey Tucker, 28.
Landon Harrison and Andrew Fayash III rolls 34th.
Tom Davis, Rob Ackerley, the next row behind them.
Thomas Lewandowski, Tyler Hudson next up.
Stephen Gilbert's in the 37, and Michael J. Johnson, one of our onboards, rolls 40th.
Tyler Hill, Tyler Laughlin, and Brian Day round out the field of 43 here tonight, getting ready to roll the dice at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Drivers that did not qualify: Brandon Hoff, Sasha Wessler, Brandon Bowie, Alex Scribner coming off a top 10 run at Daytona, and Shane Doherty missing the field here this evening. Pro drivers not being able to make the race. Pace car about to duck off here, and Chad Lawton is about to take the green flag in round number 2 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Does Lawton have what it takes to join the win list of Sturgis, Lindsay, Davies, and Banerjee? We'll find out here in 167 laps. Green flag flies, and Tony, look at that start. The 26 is gone.
And Mike Conti just about turned himself off the nose of Ray Alfala as they were crossing the start-finish line. Luckily, that did not become an issue, and very quickly, as you said, out front, Corey Vincent looks like he wants to make things happen. He and Chad Lawton, the top two, as the field works their way into turn number 1, and very quickly, Joe, everybody, for the most part, in the top 15, single file as we complete lap number 1.
One thing that Joe mentioned earlier, Tony, was tires, and we saw Kenny Humpy last week on iRacing Night, albeit a different car and a different rules package. Humpy went out front and led a bunch of laps, and then it's like he fell off the face of the earth. He runs second right now to Chad Lawton, and he's reeling him in for that lead position. Could that be something we watch this evening, the tire conservation of Kenny Humpy and what he can do, maybe learning something from last week?
I think you're right, Tim. I think he could learn something from that, from the very fact that the race played out in a very long green flag run type of way. Humpy, I don't think, had a car set up for that. Because of the way the iRacing service is, it isn't a one-time event like the Peak Antifreeze Series deal is, and that's what makes this series so special, because you can race against different guys, and quite often, when that happens, you're a little more prone to cautions. I think Humpy made that bet, and that's where he made his bet at to lie in. Unfortunately, it didn't work. We only had a couple of cautions late in that race as you watch the battle further back. Justin Bolton, Corey Vincent, Mike Conti, all right there in the middle of that one. Also with the 74, Taylor Hurst with a good seat. But I think Humpy might have learned something, Tim, and I think maybe with this series, he more so would expect a long run, and maybe that car will stay underneath him for a longer period of time, Joe.
The 10 and 36 still side by side. Michael Conti, Justin Bolton, and it's going to be Corey Vincent in the middle of that mix. Now it's going to be, looks like the 36 trying to get the advantage down low.
There's a 36 of Justin Bolton, last week's winner on iRacing Night, going to try to take position number 3 and is going to clear the 10, going down into corner number 1, and here comes the number 5 of Mike Conti. Conti to the inside of Corey Vincent, behind them Ray Alfala beginning to move as well. The number 2 trying to pick up a couple of positions early in this event as he has Taylor Hurst to the outside in the 74. Meanwhile, up in front, top 2 have broken away, and Justin Bolton is trying to pick away at that lead. Bolton really wouldn't be a surprise winner, Tony, if he won here this evening. He's been picking away at getting close to that win. Tonight might be the night.
Could be, Tim. We saw last Tuesday in the B-Class, the Xfinity Series car, Bolton was very good then, no surprise. And a lot of drivers use that as a warm-up for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series event. So to see Bolton in victory lane would not be a surprise. He has been strong, as you said. And as you look further back behind him, Tim, this is exactly what we talked about at the Open. This is a racetrack where you've got multiple grooves. It's a little bit maybe more advantageous to run the middle to the top in turn number 1. You run closer to the bottom in turns 3 and 4, but you can make multiple grooves work. And this is the fruit of that, Joe. As you are on board with Ray Alfalla, you see Mike Conti trying to get by the number 74 Taylor Hurst, and neither one making a whole lot of headway. This is great racing back here for about 5th on back.
Well, this is a tough spot for both these drivers to be in here, Tony, and this is goes to show what you talked about earlier in the race. Las Vegas does have multiple grooves out there, and you see these guys taking advantage of all of the grooves of this track early on in the race. My only concern, guys, is how this is going to affect tire wear for each of these cars. As we said at the beginning of the show, tire wear is going to be critical for these guys. And the harder they drive these tires, the less they're going to have as they continue to run down the track. Last week's winner Ray Alfalla, side by side with Michael Conti, now battling for position number 6. Alfalla's got the upper hand, and now PJ Sturgis in the INEX machine wants to get a piece of it as well.
Yeah, the 2 car going to go upstairs in the number 5 of Michael Conti, and it looks like he might make that work as the 5 gets a little bit loose there through 1 and 2, and Alfalla going to have the run off the corner. The 5 still there. No, the 2 going to shut the door. 57 of Sturgis. He looked like he was looking to the inside in the NX number 57. It looks like he's going to get there down the front straightaway. Sturgis to the inside, looking to pick up a spot. His brother has won here twice, Jake Sturgis, in the number 41 mid-pack right now. And Tony, we mentioned long green flag runs. We had a long green flag run here last week to kick off iRacing night. We've had some fuel mileage races here before at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Could that very well play out here tonight? I'm sure these guys are thinking strategy.
It's like you read my mind. I've been thinking the same thing, especially talking PJ Sturgis. That's kind of how Jake won his 2 races, were the simple fact that he was able to outlast everybody, out-strategize them, and PJ Sturgis is trying to outspeed them and maybe out-strategize them as well as you ride on board the backside of PJ Sturgis in the 7th spot. And look at Mike Conti all over the rear fascia of that race car. But yeah, Tim, you could go about 50-some laps, and the numbers I've heard, vary anywhere from 50 to 56 laps on the very extreme case. If you could do 56 laps, you can make this race in 2 stops. If you do anything less than that, you're going to have to short pit, pray for a caution, or do something extraordinary, Joe, to make this race work out in your favor. So the race is just long enough that you're going to have to do multiple stops, and that's one thing I think that's going to make this very entertaining as the night goes on.
I think you're absolutely right. That's really what's going to make this race a lot of fun to watch as these guys try different things to start. Now, something else to consider here, though. Something else to consider here as we get a replay here going of the car number 09 got loose. This race isn't won on lap 14. We still have a ton of racing left to go, guys. And for the 09, it's going to be a whole lot tougher.
Yeah, tough right for that 09. We remain under the green flag here. Brian Day in the number 4 did not start the race, Tony. It looks like he is 7 laps down right now, and that's a tough break for that Plan B sales team. As looks like we got a battle for the lead starting to heat up here. Kenny Humpy has reeled in the 26 of Chad Lawton. And we talked about Bolton making that move for 3rd. He hasn't been able to make any inroads on that battle for the top spot. And actually, he's bringing Corey Vincent along with him. But this is the battle up front for the lead as Kenny Humpy puts a little more pressure on Chad Lawton for that top spot. This time by 15 laps completed.
Race is clicking by in a hurry, Tim. 15 laps complete of 167 already. Seems like we just started this race 2 laps ago, but we didn't. It's already getting deeper and deeper into a fuel run. About 1/3 of the way, maybe a little less than that, into a fuel and tire run. So we're starting to see who's going to have something and who may need to work on the race car a little bit. And so far, Humpy and Lawton, very, very stout. But as you said, Bolton, Vincent, even Taylor Hurst back there, just inside of a 1.5 seconds from the lead. They're starting to maybe make their presence felt just a little bit as the entire field is beginning to stretch out. And I think, Joe, now's the time, if you've got anything, you kind of take a chance of maybe play around a little bit. You're not in quite as tight of a pack. You know you're going to have to come to pit road here in another 40 laps or so. Do you start experimenting a little bit just to see where that race car is and is it going to work, you think?
I wouldn't, and I'll tell you exactly why. Races are won and lost on pit road. We see this happen all the time. We saw it happen last week when we were with the B-Series car at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Xfinity style car, if you will. And this week, I think it's going to be no different. I think this race is going to be very single file, as you see it is right now. All the drivers running through the field single file. I think right now it is bide time, wait in line, and see what happens as the race goes on. Don't do anything crazy yet. Just kind of see how the car is, see how it works in traffic, and then if it feels weird or if you feel like you can do something else with the car, that's when you, at the first pit stop, that's when you make those adjustments.
Speaking about adjustments, as we keep a half eye on the battle for the lead, I want to go back to Mike Conti in the number 5 because he started up in position at number 6. He's back to position number 10 and falling backwards as Brad Mahara is right on his back bumper looking for position at number 10. And Tony, we talked about at Daytona the changing of some teams. We had Slip Angle Motorsports, we had Drill Isle, J-Show obviously merged with Drill Isle. There's a technical alliance between Slip Angle Motorsports and LRM. Had some guys change some teams, let's say, and the 5 of Michael Conti lost his teammate per se, Brian Schoenberg, that they worked real well together last year. But now Conti slipping back here. Is this something that maybe the Drill Isle might have missed their setup, at least on the short run of this race?
I don't know, Tim, and I was wondering about that because I watched Michael Conti earlier racing so hard underneath of Taylor Hurst and others, but I almost wonder if he didn't maybe punish those tires a little too much, and now the car is not going to be to his liking until maybe he gets them cooled down, they get a chance to come back, and the rest of the field gets a chance to burn some of their rubber off. And you got to remember, I mean, Mike Conti is a series champion. He is no slouch. He knows how to play the game. He knows if he has something good, that he doesn't need to burn it all up in the first 30 laps of the race. But he also knows if he doesn't have a good race car, how to maximize what he does have until he can get a chance to make adjustments. And there you see Brad Mahar, the Tim's Corner.ca car, going by once again. And just ahead of him, another car starting to move his way forward, Matt Busa. He started back in the 11th spot. He now trying to make a pass for 7th. That's 4 spots in the opening 22 laps. Matt Busa is going the right way forward. And further back, guys, we haven't really given him any camera time yet, but keep this one in the back of your mind. Chris Overland, the double clutch Menards Chevrolet, that number 47, he started back at about the 30th spot. He's made up 8 spots so far here tonight. Actually, check that, 7. He's up to 23rd. But he was the fastest guy in happy hour. 7 cars in 23 laps. That is getting the job done. And if Overland continues that pace, he'll be up front before the night's over, I'm sure, Joe.
It certainly wouldn't surprise me, and it certainly would. Again, nothing would surprise me here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, just because of how everyone's running and how clean the race is being run so far out here on the track. You have a lot of guys giving each other a lot of respect out there, and really, this is going to turning into a very entertaining race, despite it being a little, how'd you say, single file.
Yeah, there's a lot of these guys just trying to find that spot in the line and ride towards that first pit stop. And then there's guys about the middle of this pack that are trying to push a little harder to get up to the front of this field. 27, Cody Bias on the inside of the 57 of PJ Sturgis to move Bias up to position number 8. And here comes the 13 as well. Looks like the 5 might be moving a little bit backwards as well. There's a couple of drivers on the move, and it looks like the Sturgis brothers are a couple of them that are on the move, Tony. The 41 looked at the 5, and the 57 is up there too, and he's moving backward 1 spot as Bias picks up that position.
I would have never thought, Tim, that lap number 25, we said Mike Conti is begging for a caution flag. He has lost 9 spots from his original starting grid place of 6th. He's back to 15th now and continues to backslide with Jake Sturgis now trying to mount a challenge to the back of the Abuto Gaming Cockpits car. So Sturgis doing a good job, and for that matter, both Sturgises are doing a good job. PJ in the top 10, but I wonder now if he might be in the same boat as Mike Conti. Either the car going away, the setup not quite there, or maybe having burned the tires off a little prematurely and now trying to hold serve the best he possibly can until he gets a chance to come to pit road. Another comer and goer, in this case a comer would be the 05 of Nick Ottinger. He was mired deep in the field. He's up 6 spots already. He's cracked the top 20. And remember, Nick Ottinger has a knack, Joe, from 1.5 mile racetracks as he works by Danny Hansen in the SegPay car. So the Rheem Toyota now working his way up to 18th spot. And Ottinger, if he wants to make a statement that he is a contender again for a championship, this is the night he's got to do it. So far, he's been solid.
You took the words right out of my mouth there, Tony. Nick Ottinger knows how to work these kind of tracks. He knows exactly how to make the 1.5 mile work for him. I go back to 2013 when Nick Ottinger won over 6 races, and you look at those races that he won. Texas was a big one for him. Kansas was a big win for him. Kentucky Speedway was a big win for him. All 1.5 mile tracks, which makes for some very good racing, which makes for him very viable to win this race if he's got the right setup underneath him.
And the one thing we should mention as well, for guys like Conti and Ottinger, who you see on your screen there, the 05 and the 5, there's one drop race in this series within the first 12 races. So you're allowed to drop your worst finish of those 12 races. Conti didn't have the best of luck at Daytona. Ottinger ended up in the back as we have a new leader up in front. It's going to be Kenny Humpy go to the lead position over Chad Lawton. These guys, Tony, with the competition that's in this series, really cannot afford another bad race. And it's race 2. We really shouldn't be able to say that. But they really can't afford a bad race because the competition in this series is so stout. And if you want to get involved in iRacing, we got a great deal for you, Tony. PR-2015 PSR TV when you go over to iRacing and sign up. And I know, Tony, you've been looking at that deal over there. If you were a new member, that's a great deal, isn't it?
Yeah, Tim, and it's a great deal when you look at it. It really makes it a couple of bucks as you'll watch the pass for the lead once again. You see how Kenny Humpy got around Chad Lawton, and now he's starting to extend that lead ever so slightly. But yeah, if you want to be the next Kenny Humpy or Chad Lawton or any of these guys, or even if you just want to be the equivalent of a weekend racer hero within a private league, or just make laps on whatever racetrack around the world that you want to do, that's how you do it, Tim. As you see the pass for the lead once again, they're in the box. But like for instance, Monza's coming out here in a matter of days, matter of a couple of weeks maybe. The new Camping World Truck Series models, the Chevrolet Silverado and the Toyota Tundra are coming out. And I'm sure iRacing's working on the Ford one in the background as well. But that's all going to be out tomorrow, or at least the trucks are for sure. Monza could be out tomorrow, might be out, and I mean, told Monza might actually be out tomorrow as well. So all kinds of cool stuff that you can do just from the comfort of your own home. And, you know, it's amazing, Tim, what you can really do with this. Years ago, to think our idea of racing was an arcade game, and now you have professional drivers training on this. That's just amazing. As the battle for third begins to heat up once again, Justin Bolton, Joe, he's under fire from Taylor Hurst. All this is happening about 2 seconds behind the lead.
Did you forget to spring for your clock there forward, Tony? It sounds like you're missing a couple things.
Well, last I heard when I looked on the forums, Monza was probably a couple of weeks out. I know they beta tested it on a live stream today, and I'm being told it might even be out with the new build tomorrow. So I guess that means it's a lot closer than we thought.
Someone else who's a lot closer than the 36 of Justin Bolton thought is Taylor Hurst in that 74 machine. You ride on board with him, and you see just how close those two cars are. The 74 is waiting for the 36 to make a mistake, but Justin Bolton, this isn't his first time here in the show. He knows what he's doing out there, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's just going to let the number 74 of Hurst run on his bumper for a little bit, try to get a little dueling draft going on, and maybe use that to catch up sometime on your leaders. Meanwhile, up front, Kenny Humpy's starting to get a nice little lead on Chad Lawton.
The 2 car of Ray Alfala on the outside of the 34 of Matt Busa. Could this be the tires catching up possibly to the 2 of Alfala, because the 34 wants to move ahead. The 27, the 13 tucked up behind him, and they're looking to dispatch Ray Alfala back a couple positions. Your point leader and former 2-time champion of this series on the outside of the 34 of Matt Busa, and here comes Bias trying to sneak his nose in this battle as well. We will complete 36 here, and the 01 is around. Caution flag is out.
Tyler Hudson has gone around uncharacteristically on the back straightaway. Looks like the 01 kind of got in the outside wall right behind the 11 of Brad Davies and looped it down on the apron. Minimal contact with Davies and the wall, but unfortunately the Mississippi driver has gone around here, Joe, and that is a welcome sight to a lot of guys, namely Mike Conti, who is just begging for a yellow flag. He gets it, as do a few others. Pretty sure everybody's going to be on pit road.
That certainly wouldn't surprise me. Taking another look at this incident, it looks like the 11 of Brad Davies saw the 0-1 of Tyler Hudson coming. And it looks like the 11 might have got a little bit loose, trying to overcorrect, trying to hold off the 0-1. Nonetheless, got it in his line, and that's looped the 0-1 around to bring out that caution flag. So now everybody is going to buy that man a drink, because pit road's about to be a very, very busy place, and nobody is more happy to see it, like you said, Mike Conti. But it wouldn't surprise me if you see more than one wrench being inserted into a window down on pit road.
There's a second incident after the caution flag comes out between the 9 of Tyler Hill and the 39 of Michael Johnson. I'm not sure if we can get that replay now or we'll wait after pit stops. But there's another incident, Tony, that it looks like the awareness possibly in a couple of those race cars was not very high, or the spotters were not on that one there. Just after they pass that wreck, 9 and 39 get into it. But everybody now is on pit road waiting to get service to their race cars. Chad Lawton and the 58 of Kenny Humpy have been the battle so far up in front through the first 38 laps of this one. And we'll see who has the quickest pit crew to get them out off pit road first.
I don't think we'll see anything except 4 tires, a tank of virtual Sunoco fuel, and maybe a few wrenches inserted in the back windows of these cars to make some adjustments, tire pressure or otherwise. Certainly some drivers crying, begging for adjustments like Mike Conti. And yes, 4 virtual Goodyear Eagles and a full tank of fuel. Looks like Lawton might win the race off pit road. We'll get a check on that. Humpy, Taylor Hurst going to be 3rd. Followed by Justin Bolton, Matt Busa, Ray Alfala, Corey Vincent, and others. No real surprises inside the top 10, Joe. And it looks like everybody now is going to have to make this race on 2 more stops.
Let's not go that far just yet. Cautions breed cautions. Let's go now, but before I get to that, let's go back to that incident with the 9 of Tyler Hill just a moment ago, and you see just what happens there. I think you're exactly right. There's a little bit of spatial awareness that's missing there between both of those drivers. The 38 comes out of nowhere. The 9 checks up for the incident. The 9 checked up hard with everybody else around him going around. That caused the 39 just to get sideways. The 39 will back off. Good news is no terrible damage for either one of those drivers. Bad news is, though, you're going to have 2 drivers on hold some frustration for the rest of the evening. But back to my original point here, real quick, I don't think we're going to see just 2 more stops, Tony. I think cautions breed cautions, and then when every caution flag comes out, everyone's coming down pit road.
Yeah, it looks like the 89 of Landon Harrison barely got by that as well. Give a shout out to the JDR graphics car there. You look at the 39 of Michael J. Johnson. It looks like we've lost the feed to the webcam for Michael J. Johnson, but those are drivers that are going to have to make their way up from the rear of the field to the front of the field. Michael J. Johnson, after the pit stop, currently scored in 32nd position. Tyler Hill 2 spots up in front of him, and Landon Harrison just in front of the number 9. So I don't think anything else, Tony, is going to transpire from that. Tyler Hill slowed up for that wreck, and as you looked at that replay, the 89 goes by, and the 39 tries to go by on the outside line and goes into the corner, and that little contact happens. But I don't think anything will transpire. I don't think any of those guys have hot heads. But then again, it is early in the season, right?
It is. You put that one in the memory bank and you go, I will remember that when you need a break at some point later this year, maybe even later tonight. And, of course, Tyler Hill, proven winner. He knows how to win races. He's won a Pro Series race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's been a front runner in that series before jumping up here to the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. And no surprise either, of course, his family. Timmy Hill, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series and Xfinity Series driver, well, that's his brother. So, obviously, some success in motorsports rolling through the blood vessels of Tyler Hill and that entire family. So he knows how, in fact, to get the job done. Looks like the lights are out around the speedway, so that means, Joe, next time around, we'll be going back racing with 41 laps complete, already quarter distance here at Las Vegas.
Quarter distance done, but the racing is just heating up here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It'll be Kenny Humpy, Chad Lawton on the front row, Taylor Hurst, Justin Bolton behind him, Matt Busso, Ray Alfalla, row number 3, Corey Vincent, Brad Mahar, row number 4, and 2 Cody Bias drivers. Cody Bias, Adam Gilliland will restart in the top 10. So you've got a lot of different drivers, a lot of different allegiances, but I think one thing's for sure, Kenny Humpy, Chad Lawton, those 2 drivers are the ones that everyone's going to have their eye on when we go back to Green Flag Racing.
And it looks like we have a tweet coming up from the Plan B Racing team. The number 4, Brian Day, some electrical issues forcing that car out of the race. He will finish 43rd here this evening. Tough break for the Plan B sales number 4 as we get ready for the restart. First 40 laps or so have been the Humpy and Lawton story. We'll see if Hurst, Bolton, or anybody else can insert themselves into the battle here early. Green flag flies. We're back underway. Humpy, great restart, and the 26 will fall into line. Battle is going to be for position number 3 as Ray Alfalla going to get in here with Bolton and Taylor Hurst.
Hurst on the bottom, not exactly the preferred lane in turn number 1, but he's able to make it work. Tries to slip, but in fact he will slip between Bolton and Alfalla. Make it single file now for the top 10 racers down the back straightaway. And look a little further back already to that 05 Nick Ottinger. Guess what? The Gale Force Racing Toyota for Ottinger is moving forward once again. Man, oh man, that car is so good in the long run, I think, Joe. This could be dangerous for the field that Ottinger got the yellow he was looking for. If he is as good, is focused on a long race run as maybe he has been in the past on qualifying, this could be a dangerous season for that bunch. It almost looks like that's exactly what's happened. They've shifted focus from being fast for 1 or 10 laps and making a car survive over a long run to having a car that can drive well at the end of a run, that can be there towards when the tires give up. And Nick Ottinger, I think more times than not, has lost races because his car faded at the end, Joe, than he won them. And if that's the case, and they've really gone to do their homework on that, Nick Ottinger, again, proving that he is once more a championship contender.
He's always been a championship contender. He's got that drive in him, and you see it here tonight as he uses a little bit of wisdom in his setup out here. Now, he's got a lot of drivers in front of him, nonetheless. He's only in position number 12, but if he can stay in line, and if he can use a little bit of strategy to his advantage, I think what you're going to see is Nick Ottinger slowly but surely inching his way up through this field and maybe into the win tonight. Remember, he is strong at 1.5 mile tracks, and I don't believe he's ever had a Las Vegas trophy to hang on his resume. So this could be the night for him. Speaking of winners, Jake Sturgis, last year's winner, moving up the ranks as well. He's now sitting 17th. In front of him is the 66 of Ben Permeister. Behind him, the 17 of Justin Trombley. Jake Sturgis, another one we're going to want to watch tonight.
And that pack right in front of Ottinger, there's a whole lot of Cody Bias racing in that pack as Ottinger tries to slice his way through the field. Cody Bias leads Brad Mahar and the 8 of Adam Gilliland. That is back there in 8th, 9th, and 10th places, respectively. And that's a huge team, Tony. We keep talking about all these teams that are in this. We talked about LRM and the Slip Angle Motorsports Technical Alliance. So that's great. Cody Bias Racing, they've got a lot of teammates as well. Brad, Cody, Adam running their 8th, 9th, and 10th. They have a teammate up in front of them with Justin Bolton, who's ran well this evening in 3rd. Then they've got guys like Justin Trombley running mid-pack. There's a lot of Cody Bias Racing in this field, and there's 4 of them up in the top 10.
And that's really what matters, Tim, is you can have your teammates up front. Because if you're on a team, and say you have a 10-person team, which is a little bit of a stretch here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, but let's just say you do. 5 of them are in the top 10, and the rest of you are scattered throughout the field. As a driver, that tells you need to step up on your game. Now, if the entire team is mired deep in the field, it's a team issue. But I think Cody Bias Racing showing they've got some of the better drivers, some of the better setups in the series right now, and some of the veterans from CBR are going to have to help bring some of the rookies along a little bit. As here goes Taylor Hurst peeking underneath one of those CBR drivers, Justin Bolton, trying to fend off a huge charge from not only Hurst, but Ray Alfalla, Matt Busso, and others, as about 8 car lengths ahead of them, Kenny Humpy and Chad Lawton are starting to do a little bit of a tango. They're twitching and dancing and moving all about, Joe.
You're seeing guys test each other as we run on the roof of that car out there. You see these guys testing each other a little bit. You see these guys testing each other's nerves. You see these guys testing each other's ability and fortitude as they try to run as hard as they can. They're seeing right now what they can do if they can get in the head of the driver in front of them and see if they can make them a mistake. Because if they can get them to make a mistake sooner rather than later, they'll hold on to that and maybe play that card, no pun intended, later in the race.
Look at this gaggle that we have here about 20th place. Conti is in 20th, now to the outside of Justin Trombley in the CBR Ford. In front of him, they have Alan Bowes, Benjamin Burmeister, and the 41 of Jake Sturgis. The 5 to the outside takes the position on the 17 of Trombley to move the driver from Winter Harbor, Maine back a position. You ride on board, though, with Michael Conti. You see the webcam. You get to see him working a little bit inside his cockpit, as you can call it. 51 laps completed here. He chases down Benjamin Burmeister in the Last Row Motorsports Ford as they go in into corner number 1. And Conti looks like he's picking up a little bit of time, picking up some positions, Tony, but it's not 6th where he started.
No, and he's not moving forward at a really breakneck pace either. He's just kind of mired back there now, just inside the top 20. He restarted outside the top 20, so he's going the right direction, but it's taken him a while. So it makes me wonder whether he overtaxed the car early and doesn't want to do that now, or simply if that car was that far off and he's trying something different to get it back to where it needs to be. Either way, they're scratching their heads in the 5 pit, and that's probably not a good thing. Doesn't matter, how good you've been in the past. Racing's always been a sport about what have you done for me lately? And Joe, if you're Mike Conti, what have you done for me lately? Nothing.
Yeah, but the guy won you a championship last year, so don't get on him just too soon. He was, in fact, the youngest NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing champion ever, so he has that going for him on his resume. And I think, it's to a rough start. He's got a lot of pressure on him, so give him some time. Give the kid a little bit of time. He will come back. He will figure it out, and with a Drill Isle team behind him, I've got a feeling that we've not heard the last of Michael Conti in 2015.
Looking up in front at your leaders, it's Kenny Humpy and Chad Lawton, nose to tail, about a half car length in between them. Behind there, it's Matt Busa battling side by side with Corey Vincent. That is your battle for position number 6 as Vincent looks to the inside, Busa to the outside, and here comes Cody Bias in the 27 as well. So Corey Vincent sliding back a little bit here at this point in the race. Lap 55 completed here as Humpy continues to lead by about a half car length over Chad Lawton. We'll keep a half eye on that battle, but I want to go back to Conti for a second, Tony. And Joe mentioned he'll bounce back. He's a former champion of the series. Could this very well be a championship hangover? Because we saw Tyler Hudson not really do as well last year as he did in his championship year, and it looks like he's still hungover. Did well in pro, obviously, but he's not having a good race here at Las Vegas. Obviously, Ray Alfala's won a couple championships back-to-back, so could it be a championship hangover at the start of the season for Mike Conti?
Mike Conti's not old enough to have a hangover. He's barely old enough to actually vote. I mean, the kid was the youngest ever NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series champion, and got to double check, but I think he was the youngest ever NASCAR Touring Series champion. I mean, he's sort, since this was in fact a touring series, I got to double check that. I think way back in the day, Lyndon Amick might have been 15 or 16 when he won a Dash Series title, but that's going back a long time. But Conti, again, yeah, you said it, Tim. You have these years, sometimes you have confidence in your team, but remember, they had some shakeups in the offseason with teammates and teams and all kinds of things in the background that we did not see. And a lot of times that takes time away from prepping, from testing, from getting the cars dialed in, because you're more worried about trying to get your organization in order, not so much your race car. So that could be something that's affecting Mike Conti here in the opening couple of races of the season. And speaking of affecting people, Chad Lawton and Kenny Humpy are starting to affect one another as you're right on board with Nick Ottinger. Lawton is just hounding the back bumper of Kenny Humpy, probably worse than we've seen anybody do all race long, Joe.
Again, this is the mind games. Now the psychology begins. here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. These guys are testing each other out, testing the fortitude of every single driver out there to see what they can do and how they can do it on track. Remember, a mistake now could hurt later in the race. You see, as you look at the 26 machine, you see his Twitter out there on the back of his car. Don't forget to join us on Twitter. Use a hashtag NPAS on Twitter. That's hashtag NPAS to run, to engage with us on Twitter. Talk about this race. It should be a good time.
26 a lot and trying to chase down the 58 of Kenny Humphrey for the lead position. And as they go at it, it looks like Taylor Hurst getting a little bit bigger in the rearview mirror of those two that are battling for the top spot. Bolton is there in a fourth, but it looks like the battle up in front may be a trio very, very soon, because the 26 chasing that 58 might be including that 74 if that 26 can't make a move here soon.
Yeah, Taylor Hurst, the Carolinian, he has moved his way into the top three and is closing in on the opening, or the lead duo. And that's something we haven't seen so far here tonight. And really, we didn't even see it last week in the Class B Xfinity style race, Joe. Once you got out front,
be a name that adds himself to the list of Sturgis, Marcus Lindsay, Brad Davies, Sandeep Banerjee, as obviously he's been near the front of this field before. He's been to the top end of this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, but could he be a name that we add to this Las Vegas champions list?
it's very possible, Tim. It really, really is. And like you said, Busa is no stranger to the front of the field. I mean, he's run well. He's contended for top fives, top tens, and the occasional podium or even a win here and there. It might be a little surprising, but I really think in the grand scheme of things, it really wouldn't be. He's due. I mean, he's had good runs. He's been on the verge of a breakout performance. This could be it. This could be the time where he's able to spin the roulette wheel and finally the ball lands in his slot, the one that he put all of his chips on, and that could be here at Las Vegas when it happens. But problem is, Ray Alfala's in the way right now. We know very good and well, Joe, that Ray Alfala does not like to get past.
Ray Alfala does not like to get past, not in the least. But again, this is, he's having a good season so far. Granted, it's only one season, or one race, I should say. He's already won it. But these things snowball. These things continue to build. And right now, I think Ray Alfala, if you want to talk about having a reverse hangover, you're seeing it in Ray Alfala. He won Daytona. He's right now running 5th at Las Vegas. He's running strong right now. I think he's looking at his next championship.
So your top two now breaking away a little bit more from the 74 of Taylor Hurst. Bolton in position number 4, and I don't think we've heard the last of Justin Bolton yet this evening either. Ran strong last week, won the iRacing Night event, and was good on the long run. So I think Justin Bolton might have something here, albeit we still have just under 100 laps to go. We're working lap number 69 of 167, 21 and 29 we're watching. I believe that is Alan Bowes and Kevin King. Alan Bowes in the back bumper of the number 29 of King. The 41 of Jake Sturgis a part of this battle as well. This is back around 14th, 15th, and 16th. A couple of guys moving a little bit closer to the front of the field, as Sturgis may have missed his mark there in corner number 1. He's going to fall back a car length off the 21.
Might have, Tim. And whoa, hello, Sturgis just decided to go ahead and pull down and let Justin Trombley go by. That was rather unexpected, but not a surprise. Remember, it was this time about a year ago we said, what's wrong with Jake Sturgis? Why is he falling through the field? Oh, well, must not be his night. And what happened? He was able to outgun everybody on pit strategy to win the race. Don't think he's quite there yet, but I wouldn't rule anything out by any means as you're right on board the rear deck of Alan Bowes in the number 21, and you see Justin Trombley starting to close in. That's the battle for the 15th spot as they work into turn number 3. Leaders all there about 5-6 seconds ahead of this battle as the field's starting to get a little strung out. A lot of little pockets of racing around the racetrack though, Joe.
This is where we play the conservation game. laps. This is where you see everybody just kind of taking their time on track, no urgency to pass anyone, mostly because it's all going to get bunched up and shuffled up when we go back to pit road in a few more laps. Let's go take a look at the 29 and 57 right now. PJ Sturgis getting passed by the 29 of Kevin King. That will move him up to position number 13, move PJ Sturgis back to position number 14. Alan Bowes, Justin Trombley in that group as well.
Battle for fifth heating up. We just saw Matt Busa pass Ray Alfala for position number 5. And how about the 27 of Cody Bias? Where did he come from? To the inside he goes on car number 2 of Alfala's. We have a spinner off corner number 2.
Well, thought it was maybe a spinner, but they were able to hang it back together and get it back underneath of them. Looks like maybe the number 28 of Casey Tucker involved in something there. That car rather worse for wear as he works his way around the racetrack. It was kind of a lazy half spin, if you will. Just a little bit of an accordion effect. They got checked up, and he got a little bit of help. The apron, though, helped him to save it, as you see there in the box. Crunched up the number 28 Ford, though, did Tucker, and that's really going to affect him, Joe. Tough break for Casey Tucker. And, in fact, going to work around another one of the cars that are out there. That's the 09 of David Rattler, who had issues earlier. So a couple of cars crunched up. In fact, Rattler coming to pit lane now in his 09, unscheduled stop for that group. So David Rattler's night has gone from bad to worse, all the way back in the 39th position, though he was on the lead lap. Meanwhile, up front, that battle for 4th and 5th we were looking at, starting to get heated up once again, but not for 5th, more so for 6th. Cody Bias, Ray Alfala, Corey Vincent, they're all now in the thick of it, and I think maybe Ray Alfala is falling victim to Kenny Humpy's syndrome from 1 week ago. That 2 car is nowhere near where Ray Alfala wants it at the end of a run, it appears.
Another car that's going to suffer as a result of that incident is a 22 of Rob Ackley. The MBD Toyota has had damage on the front end and the back end of that machine. Currently running position number 32. He's going to need an extended stay on pit road in order to fix that damage on his car, as now it looks like the battles are starting to heat up around the track. Now as these guys get to the end of their run, you're starting to see them flex their muscle just a little bit because every position counts.
Car 210.05 going at it, and I believe the 13 of Brad Mahara is a part of this battle as well. Tony, you mentioned it. Ray Alfala falling backwards, the 05 of Nick Ottinger, and the 10 of Corey Vincent trying to make their move. And as they do, Cody Bias is pulling away from this battle with position number 6. The 05 of Nick Ottinger now down to the apron on the 10 of Corey Vincent, trying to make something happen. Can't do it that time. That is your battle for position number 8, as Ray Alfala gets a little bit of breathing room, at least for the time being.
Yeah, you look at the lap times, Tim. Alfala is about 2/10 off the pace of the leaders. Humpy, Lawton, who have now actually pulled away from Taylor Hurst, who had reeled them in. Hurst now nearly 2 seconds off the lead duo. Bolton and Busa right behind them. And then comes Bias, Alfala, Vincent, and this entire gaggle from about, 6th, 7th place or so on back, including Nick Ottinger and Brad Mahar. And this is starting to become a little bit of a hotly contested battle. Alfala's holding these guys up, Joe, and that's the opportunity that Ottinger, Mahar, Gilliland, all of them need to maybe try to advance, but by the same token, it also presents an opportunity to make a mistake and possibly take yourself out of contention.
Opportunities exist everywhere on the track if you know how to take them around here. But again, it's way too early to gamble. It's way too early to risk. You know, at this point, do what you can, get the position you need, and see what happens.
And we have pit stops beginning here. We had T-Loft come down pit road. Kevin King was down, and I believe a couple more are about to make their way down onto pit road. The 8 of Adam Gilliland coming down to pit road here in the Gary Mercer Trucking number 8. And this is the longest run we've seen of this race so far, Tony. The first run, they came down pit road, completion of 38 into 39 under caution. This will be completion of 80 into 81 for Adam Gilliland in car number 8 as he comes down to the attention of his Cody Bias Racing crew.
Gilliland is in. We anticipate to be 4 brand new Goodyear Virtual Eagles and a tank of virtual Sunoco Racing fuel. No major changes expected on the Adam Gilliland machine. Crew goes around to the left side, and again, 5 off, 5 on for that bunch as Pit stops happening, Joe, I think a little earlier than maybe we expected for some of these drivers. Mind you, a lot of these teams were a little bit further back in the field, maybe trying to use a little bit of short pit strategy to launch themselves up through the field once everything cycles out. But that's a pretty big gamble. And in fact, now here comes Ray Alfalla, Chris Overland, Tyler Hill, and others coming down pit road, this time by Chad Lawton coming in as well. Now the leaders have had their hand forced. They're on pit road.
And that's what happens when you start playing games of conservation and chance out there. You start seeing what everybody else is made of. Ray Alfalla, you see what he's made out of as he comes down pit road. Justin Trombley joins him. Chris Overland joins him. Ryan Lowe now comes down pit road. Tyler Hill on pit road as well. And the 26 of Chad Lawton, as you heard, he is still on pit road. 4 tires, full tank of fuel for him. The right side, or left side, as they go up this time by for Chad Lawton. Drops the hammer. Great stop for the 26 team. They're down and away.
Leader on pit road, it's Kenny Humpy making his way down 1 lap after the 26 of Chad Lawton, the 36 of Justin Bolton coming down into pit road. The 58 going to stop in his box, looks clean in. As
Caution, Tim! Wow! Sorry there, but holy cow, this just changed everything. And David Rattler, the driver who had problems early off turn 4, once again has the exact same problem occur. He'd already been to pit road with an unscheduled stop, but the 09 of David Rattler around here on the front straightaway. He makes contact with the outside safety barrier, and that has left Nick Ottinger at the front of the field. Oh my, and look at this. Lawton, Hurst, Bolton, Alfalla, Tyler Hill, so many big names trapped now, Joe, 1 lap down after pit stops.
And as I take a look at that incident again, it looks like the 09, that damage that he had on the front end, may have come back to haunt him just a little bit as the 1 of Brian Blackford comes around him. The 09 just not able to control it, gets the air off it, and he's going to spin out on the stretch, and that's going to hurt him later on down the line. Caution flag out, and Nick Ottinger will lead him down pit road.
Your leaders are coming down pit road, and I'm waiting to see if Kenny Humpy is scored on the lead lap here or not, because right now it looks like he was scored tail end of the lead lap. If that's the case, it's going to trap some drivers 1 lap down. Tony, some of these drivers may get the wave around. We'll have to wait and see how scoring figures this all out. Ottinger already down in his box. Patrick Crabtree will lead that lap. That is big. He was coming in second in the point standings.
Yeah, Crabtree had a great run. Daytona nearly did have a chance to win there, nearly pulled it off. So he gets an extra bonus point for leading a lap here at Las Vegas. Ottinger service down and away for the leader, Crabtree right behind him. Then comes the 57 of Sturgis, Mike Conti, saved by this caution flag. He came in the pits in about 7th spot. So no real surprises. Ottinger, Crabtree, Sturgis, and others. And looks like Kenny Humpy caught it just right, Joe. Stayed out on the racetrack, and unofficially he'll be scored as the leader once we cycle through.
Definitely a good strategy move by Kenny Humpy as he's going to come out and should lead this field. But look who's up front with him. Nick Ottinger, the 05 machine. We talked all night about how he's strong at 1.5 mile tracks. You know, this could be his night.
We're going to step away for just a few moments' time. These drivers took the opportunity to go to pit road, and we are going to take a pit stop as well. We'll be back as we work lap number 86 here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, round number 2.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. Got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Peak can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Nick Candy, what a move. Truex on the outside, contact made. 56 slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy. If you want to get involved in iRacing and get involved in some of this action that you're seeing here this evening with the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, well, you got to get an iRacing subscription. We got a great deal for you. PR-2015 PSR TV. It'll let you buy 1 month, get 2 months for free, and you're going to get the late model stock as well. So go over to iRacing.com, put that code into the promotional code slot, PR-2015 PSR TV, and you'll get 3 months for the price of 1, and you'll also get the late model stock. Be sure to join the conversation on Twitter. Hashtag NPAS. That's for NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Hashtag NPAS. And while you're at it, you may as well hashtag iRacing Night too, because that's what we're celebrating on fanschoice.tv every Tuesday night with this and also the NASCAR iRacing.com Class B Open Series, racing every Tuesday night on fanschoice.tv. Well, we have Kenny Humpy and Nick Ottinger, and then a bunch of drivers that we haven't seen up front yet this evening. Pace car is in. Kenny Humpy is going to put the hammer down, and we are green. This could be exciting, Tony.
That was exciting right off the get-go. Ottinger spun the tires, and you saw him up the racetrack, able to barely hold on to second over P.J. Sturgis and Patrick Crabtree. Remember, it was pit strategy that put Crabtree up front at Daytona. He was able to hold on to that spot. Here at Las Vegas, a little bit of luck / pit strategy. Able to do the same thing so far. Let's see if he can hang on to it. Further back in the field, they're 3 and 4 wide into turn number 3. Brian Schwarberg stacking up. We got cars up in the wall. Around goes Landon Harrison in front of the field. Somehow, everybody able to miss him. Alfala skids to a stop. And miraculously, only one car went around and everybody else got away scot-free.
That was an incident for the ages. That is the kind of gambling I'm talking about doing here, and you saw it early with the 3 of Brandon Schmidt sending the 89 of Harrison around, and then like you said, it is a miracle. Everybody came up a winner with that incident, including the 2 of Ray Alfala, though he is probably going to need brand new tires on that machine. Landon Harrison, the 89, nobody hits him, and almost, not for lack of trying, let's put it that way.
Joe, he's going to need a new rear end, Ray Alfala. They're going to need to massage it because Adam Gilliland drove right through the 2 trying to avoid that wreck. I'm not sure who was spotting on the 8, but Adam did not slow down and drove right into the back of the 2, and I'm sure the team is going to be talking to Adam Gilliland and his spotter because there's...
Well, Tim,
there was definitely some damage here.
I'm not going to throw him under the bus because I look at the replay and I go further back. Everybody else around Adam Gilliland was about at the same pace. Kevin King was right at the same pace. Stephen Gilbert, Justin Trombley, all back there. Almost all of them slowed down at about the same rate Adam Gilliland did. I think Ray Alfala just, in all reality, either saw it sooner than everybody else and could have even overreacted, or it's just one of them deals is, it's a racing deal. Or Alfala might have seen Justin Bolton checking up before anybody else did, and that caused him to jump on the binders. It's a racing incident, Joe. There's a lot of things that can happen. You look at what happened around him, and Tim, I don't think it's just Adam Gilliland. I think it's just a matter of circumstances at that point.
It might have been lack of team communication as well, guys. You mentioned the 36 of Justin Bolton slowing up, Adam Gilliland in the 8. They're on the same voice communication channel right now. They're on the same team. So I'm not sure if Bolton couldn't get to the button quick enough and say caution or wreck ahead or whatever the case may be. Bolton got on the binders. It looks like Ray got on the binders, and Adam didn't get the message. So, Joe, it might have been something along the lines of there was a little bit of a team communication malfunction there, too.
that wouldn't surprise me if it was a communication malfunction. I've looked at this incident from inside the cockpit of Adam Gilliland's car, and it looks like he just doesn't see it until the very last second out there. He sees the smoke, but he doesn't see the two checking up until it's way too late. By that time, he's got the brakes on, but it's not going to save him from getting into the back end of the 2 machine of Ray Alfalla. So it certainly wouldn't. I agree with you there, Tim, that it was a communication breakdown between the teammates, and that is something they're going to want to work on for 2 weeks' time.
Whatever the case may be, they've got a couple of damaged race cars that they're going to have to come down and get repaired. And Adam, I know he'll rebound, top 10 in points so far this season. I know he likes the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. He'll be making his way back up to the front, I am sure. But as we mentioned when we went green, Tony, we really didn't have an opportunity to mention who was around this top 10 or in this top 10. Kenny Humpy, Nick Ottinger were running strong early in this thing. But then we have PJ Sturgis, Patrick Crabtree, Michael Conti, who was up front early, fell way back, and now is back up to position number 5. Trey Eidson, Danny Hansen, Jake Sturgis, Alex Warren, first time we mentioned that name all night long, and Benjamin Burmeister in your top 10. So there's some drivers and some names that were hanging around the top 10. There were some drivers that were hanging around about the top 25, and with the pit strategy, they are all together within the top 10.
And Tim, here's the thing. If you took the waiver on that last caution, if I'm one of those drivers, I come down pit road, I go ahead and come back in, take 4 more tires, top off the tank, because we've got about 70-some laps to go, roughly. We can make it a 1 more stop from here, and it gives us a little bit of leeway as far as extra mileage compared to the leaders. Maybe we can stay out and have a similar situation to what occurred earlier. I come down pit road if I'm further in the back, and I took that wave around and just get as much advantage as I can get. So a Chad Lawton or a Cody Bias or some of those guys, they really had nothing to lose to come down under this caution flag and try to drive their way forward from outside the top 15. It's still going to be fun, though, to see, I think, Joe, how some of these drivers who were mired in the back after qualifying take to being up front. Guys like Danny Hansen in that SegPay car. Guys like Tyler Hudson, who was having a very lackluster night. Brian Schoenberg up to 13th. Even Timo Ivonen up to 12th. It's going to be really fun now. Hopefully we get a couple of green flag laps in. Didn't get a lot of time, that one. But this could be interesting on how this race plays out, no doubt.
Yeah, but as I've said before, you guys, cautions breed cautions, and that's exactly what we've seen here so far. We've had 2 quick caution flags. Would it surprise if we get a 3rd one? Probably not.
Pace car's in. Green flag is going to fly right here. And you saw coming to the green flag that Ottinger was trying to play a little bit of games with Kenny Humpy, trying to keep up with him and falling back a little bit on that outside line coming to the green flag. He's now even with him, about a half car length there as the 05 fights back on the outside line. It looks like they're going to be even coming out of corner number 2, and the 05 nearly got into the fence, and looks like Humpy's trying to push him up a little bit further up that racetrack, Tony.
Is Carl Edwards in the 58 or Casey Kane maybe? I'm not sure which one. Looks a little like what happened in the Sprint Cup race on Sunday with Edwards and Kane kind of squeezing each other up into the outside wall and then some. But nonetheless, Ottinger's committed to the top. Humpy says, go ahead, take it. Ottinger wants to do it the hard way. If nothing else, he's going to try to slow down the 58 with a little bit of a side draft, take some air off the spoiler. Couldn't quite get the job done. And all this battling's allowed Sturgis, Conti, Crabtree, and others to close right in. Look at PJ Sturgis. What a run by the NX Chevrolet of Sturgis. He might even be in contention for a first win here at Las Vegas. Man, oh man, this is great racing. And as much as we hate to see caution flags in the middle of pit stops, Joe, it has really turned this race around for a lot of teams.
I think these guys have finally got these cars dialed in a little bit. I think these guys have these cars working right where they want them to be working, and this is going to make for some very entertaining racing on the second half of this race.
So we come out of corner number 4. We'll have 96 laps completed right here for the 58 car of Kenny Humpy. Second belongs to the 05 of Nick Ottinger. Behind them, PJ Sturgis trying to get up here and win himself a race. In third, Conti and Patrick Crabtree in the top 5. There's another name we haven't talked a whole lot about this evening. The SegPay 32 of Danny Hansen has worked his way up to position number 6 and trying to get himself a little bit closer to the front. Tony was 8th in the final practice, qualified 19th. Danny's won a race before in this series. He wants to get back to victory lane, roll the dice here at Las Vegas, and maybe get himself a W.
Exactly, Tim. And we talk about starting deep in the field, and here's why I'm not surprised that a lot of these drivers can stay up there, like Danny Hansen. You go back and you look at qualifying. Okay, that's great. The pole was a 28.82. Well, guess what? If you were a 1/10 of a second off the pole, you started 25th. That is how tight the field is in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. And it goes to show you one minor slip up in qualifying can essentially ruin your race unless you get a stroke of luck, like a caution flag right when you need it. So some of these guys, this is an opportunity now for them, and very few of them, at least at this juncture, have squandered it already. They are certainly doing a great job up front.
Everybody really doing a great job up front and really doing a great job of keeping these cars going in the right direction. But for the most part, a clean race tonight, aside from a couple of those incidents. Now check out the 57 of BJ Sturgis. He got loose coming off of turn number 4. Let's see if he does it again here through turns 1 and 2. And meanwhile, you see the 51 in the box. It's Tyler Laughlin back there in the field trying to get on the back end of the double clutch Menards machine of Chris Overland. Those two battling for position number 33, I'm told, as we continue to race single file through the rest of this field.
82 car falling back as you ride on the roof of the 5 of Michael Conti. He's battling up here with the likes of Nick Ottinger, the 15 of Patrick Crabtree.
Whoa, problems! Problems almost for Alex Warren. Sorry there, Tim. But Warren looked like he got a little help, I think, getting into turn number 1. Somehow was able to save it. And Benjamin Burmeister, who's had not a great night later in the run, well, guess what? He got into Alex Warren, and Warren able again somehow to hang on to it. We'll stay green, but Alex Warren's Goodyears, they are toast. Now they are burnt off, and he is backsliding like a lead sinker in a fish pond, Joe.
He is going to need all the help he can get. He's going to need another caution flag here. Don't be surprised if you see a little piece of something come out of his car to try to get that debris caution later on in this race. Humpy, Ottinger, Connie, Crabtree, now your top 5 as PJ Sturgis almost gets into the wall. Danny Hansen forces him up there, but that'll put Danny Hansen in the top 5. Sturgis now 6th.
32 car, as you mentioned, picking up a spot and coming to the front of the field. That will be a top 5 spot now for Danny Hansen as he'll chase down Patrick Crabtree and the rest of those guys. And we mentioned a little bit earlier with the pit stop strategy changing things around. Justin Bolton was one of those drivers well within the top 5. Justin Bolton right now caught in the Hornet's Nest. They're 3 wide in front of him. That's the 9 of Tyler Hill, the 74 Taylor Hurster was up front, and the 10 of Corey Vincent. 3 wide down the front straightaway, and looking at corner number 1 now is Kevin King and Brad Mahar. Also in this battle, 9 giving the 10 a little bit of a shot through 1 and 2 as they get back to double file racing. The 74 to the inside, and here comes Brad Mahar on the inside, trying to make it 3 wide once again, and the TCM 13 goes to the inside, looking to pick up 1 more.
This is where it gets dangerous, Tim. Just as we talked about the leaders who are up front that got the good break and can hang up front, now the guys who were up front have the exact same problem the guys who are up front now had at the outset of the race. They're mired back here in a pack of traffic that's all going the same speed. It's very difficult for them to make any sort of headway. The aero push, the aerodynamics that are modeled in the sim are coming into play, and these guys are having just a heck of a time trying to move forward. You see Kevin King and Tyler Hill still side by side. Andrew Fiash III back there trying to make a little bit of headway. And none of these drivers who are race-winning caliber drivers can really go forward very easily. Again, the competition is that stiff. The cars and drivers are that equal, Joe, that it's really frustrating, especially if you're a Justin Bolton or a Tyler Hill or a Taylor Hurst. These guys who were up front early, this is the most frustrating thing ever, to get stuck back here and not be able to move forward.
29 gets sideways.
Whoa,
off the
Kevin
turn.
King.
He's going to go into the grass. Green flag flies out. He stays out as they continue to run here. But Kevin King, he basically got booted out of the field coming off of turn number 4. So score Kevin King at the back of this field. He's going to lose a ton of position out there after losing his way off turn number 4 into the grass.
And Kevin King is one of those personalities. I'm sure if we had the radio communication, he's probably not mild-mannered right now. King's going to have to make his way back up to the front of the field. 13 into the back bumper of the 74. Taylor Hurst down the front straightaway. Hurst trying to hold that position. There's another one of those drivers that was well within the top 5 before those pit stops. There's Chad Lawton back there in the 26 car. Lawton scored in 16th place. Battle in front of him between Hudson and Busa side by side. The 01 car on the inside trying to pick up a spot on the 34. The 34 trying to rim ride to keep that spot, and he will do so. And now Lawton goes to the inside of the 01 of Tyler Hudson. He'll bring Corey Vincent along with him.
Or at least he'll try to over here in turn number 1. You see Hudson up top, and now he will slide back one more spot as Vincent bypasses him. A little bit further ahead, the 57 of Sturgis. He's doing what he did in the last run. Great early, lackluster in the middle, and probably not so great at the end. So the 57 of PJ Sturgis now falling back through the field, being scored last time by in the 9th spot. This time by, looks like he might be on the outside of the top 10. In fact, yes, in the 11th spot. As you look a little bit further back in the field again, it's right back in that hornet's nest. Brad Davies, Taylor Hurst. Business is picking up with these guys, Joe. They are starting to, well, get a little impatient. I really can't blame them. We're getting down close and closer to 50 laps to go.
Time keeps on ticking into the future, guys. And at this point, they don't have a whole lot of opportunities. If they're going to start rolling the dice, they need to start doing it sooner rather than later. If you're in the hornet's nest, as you say, you don't got a whole lot to lose because, worst case scenario, the yellow flag comes out, you pick up new tires, you get right back at it. Best case scenario, you roll the dice, you mess with the car, see what happens, and you end up getting some position at the end of it.
And back here in this hornet's nest is another one of those drivers that has won here at Las Vegas before. Brad Davies in the number 11, trying to pick up a couple of spots here. He and Jake Sturgis, the only 2 former winners of this race in the field. Sturgis running up in 6th place in contention for this one, and Brad Davies is hoping for a turnaround like a Jake Sturgis had in those 2 races to win those 2 races at Vegas. As Hudson gets a little bit loose, nearly tags the wall off corner number 2, and he's going to fall back. He's going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions at least here, Tony, as he needs some momentum because the other guys on the inside of him going by. That was Trombley in the 17. Here comes Tyler Hill in the 9, and the 24 of Nathan Wise. Going to try to make something happen here.
I think Hudson might have even actually caught the wall, some damage, or at least some evidence of some contact on the outside of that race car. Mind you, he caught the fence right there early in the race and brought the first yellow of the night. Could be remnants of that. Nonetheless, he's going the wrong direction as Hill gets by. Now the 24 of Nathan Wise works by. Ryan Lowe is the next one to take advantage in the number 38 car. So Tyler Hudson, despite that good fortune with the yellow flag, it's not going his way as he now quickly being shuffled outside the top 25.
Top 10 pretty much spread out at this point. Good racing starts around position number 16 and 17 as the 74 of Taylor Hurst, now the 13 of Brad Mahar, getting around the 55 of Brian Schoenberg, running the Pro Geek Consulting colors tonight as he fights with a 13 and the 11 of Brad Davies. Side by side, Brian Schoenberg, and another driver we haven't talked about a whole lot tonight. Not having a whole lot of luck here at Las Vegas, but I've got a feeling, guys, he might be a sleeper tonight. If something else happens, he might be the one who can take benefit of it and end up with a top 10, maybe even a top 5 if the car's going to comply.
Schoenberg, one of those drivers involved in that checkup to bring out our previous caution flag with Landon Harrison and a couple of other drivers behind him. So Schoenberg having to rebound from that. The Pro Geek Consulting number 55 now has to look in the rearview mirror and see the 36 of Bolton. And Bolton was very, very strong early in this race. Bolton up on the 55 and looking to make a move on the Pro Geek Consulting is Chevrolet, looking around, and Bolton will go to the inside here maybe. One behind him is Justin Trombley. Those 2 are teammates, so they're trying to carve their way back to the front of this running order. 1:16 completed here, and here comes the Ford Fusion to the inside. Justin Trombley trying to pick up one on his teammate.
He'll succeed in doing so, at least at the stripe. Oh, watch out, Sturgis! Hello, PJ Sturgis! That was nearly disastrous for everyone involved. What a piece of driving by everyone around PJ Sturgis, as he is the only car involved after a little bit of a side draft gone awry. Contact with Schoenberg, and Sturgis backs it hard on the outside wall. Looks like the NX Chevrolet is going to call it a night as he came up snake eyes in turn 1.
And PJ Sturgis was one of those favorites for us to win this race tonight. The NX Chevrolet, again, makes contact with the 55 as Schellenberg goes spinning like a roulette wheel through turn number 1. And guys, turns number 1 and 4 has been the trouble spots all night tonight for all of those drivers. We've seen at least 3 drivers get claimed by those turns. So PJ Sturgis, another victim, another one bites the dust. And in this case, it will be one of the 2 Sturgises, PJ, this time around. Godsend yellow flag, though, for a lot of guys out here as they are going to come down pit lane and make sure their cars are good for what could be the final run.
50 laps to go. These drivers are going to probably have to stretch it if this thing remains green the rest of the way. But we have seen a few cautions in this race already, Tony, so I don't want to put any pit strategy out there because it could very well change before we get to the checkered flag. The best overhead doors, number 58 of Kenny Humpy, coming down pit road and looking towards his pit box for what could very well be, if they do stretch it, a final pit stop of the evening. 58 into the box. It looks clean. No, he's going to back up a little bit to get back into his box. That may cost him.
Small mistakes. Sometimes that's all it takes to lose races at this level, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. The crew flawless otherwise, but Humpy and that mistake coming in pit road is going to cost him the lead. Crabtree is going to emerge the victor off pit road. Ottinger, Conti, and Humpy back to 4th. One little slip up cost him 3 spots. And look behind Kenny Humpy. Trey Eidson going to be out in 5th. Danny Hansen, Jake Sturgis, and a whole host of others. And it looks like Crabtree again, pit road, just like 2 weeks ago, Joe, could be his forte, as he will lead the field to green, it appears, once we cycle everything around.
Incredible stop by that 15 team to get 4 brand new virtual Goodyear Eagles on that car and to get down and away before the 05 of Nick Ottinger. Going to be very interesting to see how this field shakes up when we come back to Green Flag Racing in just a few moments.
Can Patrick Crabtree add his name to the list of winners of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway within 50 laps? We're going to find out. Don't go away. We'll be right back with continuing coverage of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. You got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this. I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Peak can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval. And that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself. And they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building 2 tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Welcome back to iRacing Live, and Tyler Laughlin has decided that he is going to stay out and play a little bit of strategy. Everybody else decided to come down pit road in this 40-plus car field. This could be exciting for a couple laps. The Monster Energy at number 51 going to lead this field to the green flag with Patrick Crabtree to the outside. And we are back underway, and Teloff is gone and gone quickly. Ottinger is going to try to gobble him up, and Conti was sinking 3 wide.
He thought about Laughlin, looks at him, he backs out. Is there a problem with the 51 of Laughlin? He's off the pace severely into turn number 1. The leader, Tyler Laughlin, the entire field has gone by. Whatever advantage he hoped to gain, guess what? He just dropped all the chips on the floor and everybody else picked them up. The house wins for Tyler Laughlin. Nick Ottinger, he's the one that ends up winning up front out of that gamble. He now is the leader. Patrick Crabtree going to be second. Conti there in third. And once again, Humpy, Hansen, and others breathing down his neck.
Run on the roof cam of the 5 of Michael Conti. You see just in front of him the 15 of Crabtree and your new leader, the 05 of Nick Ottinger. Ottinger looking for his first win of the 2015 campaign, and if there is a favorite to win it, it could be Ottinger. Remember, he shines at mile-and-a-half tracks, and he knows how to run these mile-and-a-half tri-oval, quad-oval tracks. So Ottinger at a significant advantage now. But as we were talking about during the break, guys, I don't know that he can make it on this pit stop alone.
Yeah, these guys are going to have to stretch it a little bit here if they want to get to the end of this race on this stint. We'll have to see if anybody does decide to save a little bit of fuel. The 5 car of Mike Conti looking over the 15 of Crabtree. The 58 of Kenny Humpy has been solid all race long. Right now running in position number 4, and Danny Hansen running in position number 5. And Tony, he's got a fan in Garrett Smithley that's following along on Twitter. He sent us a tweet, and I'm sure Ian's going to pop that up on the screen. And NASCAR Camping World Truck Series driver, they got the same SegPay sponsorship on those race cars or race vehicles, and he's trying to give a little bit of a push to Danny Hansen to get him near the front of the field.
So far, it's working for him, having a solid run as Hansen inside the top 5. Another driver with a good run, the 34, Matt Busse. He just picked all problems. Burmeister around, caution is out. We've got another huge crash here on the front straightaway, and it all started right around Benjamin Burmeister. That's right where Matt Busse just picked up a spot ahead of Michael J. Johnson, which just get ready to talk about it. And it looks like he might have had a little bit of help from Chad Lawton as they made contact in the front straightaway. Cody Bias might have caught a small piece of it, but again, miraculously, great driving by everybody else. Burmeister, the only car with substantial damage, and we are under caution once again.
Let's take a look at that incident one more time, guys, because I'm not exactly sure how that all came together. The 66 running his line, the 26 trying to get around him, and it just looks like, Tim, tell me what your opinion is, but it looks like the 26 of Chad Lawton, who was running at the front of this field to begin this race, used the chrome horn on the 66 to try to get around him and try to get that extra position to put him in the top 10 once again. I'm not accusing him of anything. Don't think I'm saying that he did do it. I'm just saying it appears he may have applied the chrome horn to get the position.
Well, Joe, before Tim even answers that, let's ask this, because I know Tim studied some of with the drivers' meeting. Was there any sort of directive by race control, Tim, not to pass below the white line? Because if you watch the video, Lawton stops right at the white line and does not go any further. Burmeister continues down. Is that possibly something that contributed to this accident?
Yeah, but Tony, take a look. It's I don't know if we can get an angle on it, but you see that one of the tires go over the line.
If that's the case, though, drivers have been doing it all race long throughout this field to pick up positions. That white line's not out of bounds. If it is, there's something that I didn't read in the drivers' meeting. But the 26 at Chad Lawton, it looked like for a moment, as Joe mentioned, he was going down there. He had the 2 wheels below the yellow line, and then he stopped. And then that contact is made, and the 66 of Burmeister goes around, and I'm not the iRacing officials. It's their job to take care of all that stuff, but I feel bad for that 66 car.
Yeah, that thing's going home in a box. Let's just put it to you that way. It will not. That particular car, if it was a physical car, would not be back at the racetrack anytime soon. It is officially done. The good news is for the guys up front, though, Joe, if they were short or questionable on fuel strategy, a few more laps to save a little more in the tank and maybe, just maybe, be able to milk something to the end.
This is where the guys are going to start riding the clutch just a little bit, ease by ease. I'm surprised we're not seeing anybody on the apron just yet, trying to save as much fuel as humanly possible here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So far, everybody remains on the racing surface. Everybody remains single file. But the question I want to know is, who's going to be the first one to come down pit road?
You're on board with Mike Conti there as we ride under caution. First one down, or first one off pit road at least, is Tyler Hudson in the 01 car, as he will be scored somewhere back here in about mid-pack. Stephen Gilbert is going to take the opportunity to come down pit road as well. Stephen Gilbert scored 5 laps down. Brandon Schmidt and Brian Day, the only 2 out of this race. Gilbert scored 5 back. Everybody else is on the lead lap. So when scoring comes through here, which it just did, it puts Tyler Hudson in 22nd place, Joe. So that should put us about the top 21 staying out on the racetrack. And Hudson on back, I believe, is your cutoff line, per se, of those drivers that did come down pit road.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. As we continue to run out there under the yellow flag, should have about a lap or so to go before we go back to green flag racing. Ottinger, Crabtree, Conti, Kenny Humby, Danny Hansen, your top 5, and that's going to make for a very interesting group. I'm really just to see what the 5 Michael Conti does, only because he hasn't been strong as the race has gone on. He faded a little bit earlier in the race when we had that long run, and I would be interested to see if any of the adjustments he made are going to, I don't know, bolster him as we continue back on the ring.
We should mention Tyler Laughlin, when he took the green flag on that restart, he simply, Joe, just pulled down and let everybody else go. He got back up to speed at the back of the field. He's come down pit road now and has got tires on that race car. And actually, it was his birthday yesterday, so we want to wish Tyler Laughlin a very happy birthday. We're looking at the 6th car, I believe, at Trey Eidson. He is running within the top 10, running in position number 6. And Joe, take a look at that car. It's got the poker chips on it. It's got the 6s on the dice on the left-hand side. It's got 3s on the other side. But that's the Infinite Creative Solutions number 6, Dylan Duval, and Infinite Creative Solutions doing a fine job on that race car, getting that all decaled up for this race. And Joe, we're doubled up, getting ready to go green.
And this is where the rubber meets the road, figuratively and literally. This is where the chips hit the felt. We'll come back to lap 131, which leaves us just over 30 laps to go in this race. And this is where it gets crazy. This is where you're going to see everybody make the moves that will make or break the race for them. Top 5 set, top 10 set. Get ready for one heck of a finish.
And I think there's still some drivers mid-pack that could very well push to the front. We just saw Chad Lawton push his way to the front. He's up to position number 10, was up in front early. Taylor Hurst back in 16th place. Justin Bolton really hasn't been able to push his way to the front. He's back in 21st. Drivers early in the race that were good, along with guys like Kenny Humpy in the 58, who runs in position number 4. Pace car is going to duck off here, and Ottinger in command of the field. There goes Pace car, and the 05 is gone. Green flag flies, the 5, a Conti to the inside, and that outside line stacks up with Patrick Crabtree there, and it looks like he's going to fall back to at least 3rd because Danny Hansen's going to take a spot.
Great move by Hansen down low. He will pick up position number 3. Patrick Crabtree now falls back in line, position number 4. And Jake Sturgis, the man who won this race last year, he's now position number 5 on the field. Everybody single file all the way back to about the 26 machine, as here comes the 6 going into the group as well.
We've got a huge wreck on the back straightaway, Joe. The 57 of PJ Sturgis and a bunch of others stack it up at a corner number 3. No caution, Tony, but there's a lot of damaged cars back there.
Somehow, Tim, I don't know how we do not have a yellow. I think maybe the fact everybody's on the apron and out of the racing line, but Brian Blackford caught a piece of it. The number 24 caught a piece of it as well, Nathan Wise. It was a miraculous, again, just a miracle that we did not have a yellow, but Trombley out, the 24 Wise again, and Tyler Hill also catching a piece of it. But a huge pile up, and somehow everybody kept moving and kept off the main racetrack, and that essentially cleared the way for us to stay green. How in the world did that happen?
1,000,000 to 1 odds, I'm sure, as I'm sure they're getting ready to give us the replay here, but it all starts with 24 and 17. Both those cars try to fight for the exact same piece of real estate. Doesn't work for either one of them. They will bounce off each other, bounce through the field, and that's going to bring out those two cars. No caution. With the 17, the 24, their nights are for the most part done.
And after that happened, for the most part, throughout your top 15 or so, we are single file. First side-by-side battle, looks like Jake Sturgis is going to pop his nose out of there, and that would be at position number 5 as he looked at the 15 of Patrick Crabtree, the 58 of Kenny Humpy now to the inside, 34 and 26 going to try to get in here as well and be a part of the party as Jake Sturgis falling back a couple of positions here in the later half of this event. We're closing in on 30 laps to go.
And with 30 laps to go, Tim, that means it is go time. It's crunch time. If you've got anything left in the tank, you've got to put it on the table. We've been through the flop, the turn, and now the river when it comes to the Texas Hold'em game you might play in Vegas. And now everybody's putting their bets out there. You've got to start playing with the chips you've got because that's all you've got. This is the final table and the final hand here in Las Vegas. And look who's trying to make it happen. Kenny Humpy now up to the 5th spot, working by Jake Sturgis in the 41. Behind them, Chad Lawton in the mix, Trey Eitzen, Matt Busa, and others. It is go time. Again, Joe, if you've got anything, you need to put your foot through the floor here.
And that is exactly what Jake Sturgis is doing on the outside lane. Now has help from the 34 of Matt Busa. And it's going to be 2x2 as they continue to run for that 5th position. Through turns 1 and 2. Get the wiggle off 2. And the 41 looks like he might have made contact with the wall. It's not affecting him as he continues to run hard through 3 and 4.
57 car of PJ Sturgis being told is in the wall again in the back, and he will coming down to pit road. A little bit of damage and a little bit of smoke coming from that race car. He is on pit road. We're still green. Up in front continues to be Ottinger, the 5. Close battle for 3rd is the 15 at Crabtree, looking over the back bumper of the 32 at Danny Hansen. Crabtree looking to take another top 5 away. Nothing doing through 3 and 4. Just behind them, though, Tony, we got a little battle between the 34 and about 8 other cars.
And they almost all wadded them into one big pile of scrap metal in turn number 3. A little bit of accordion effect over there as Busa had to check up, as did others. Now Chad Lawton underneath the Matt Busa, a little further behind them. Corey Vincent, Cody Bias, all in the middle of it as well. Again, this is now where the Hornet's Nest is. Lots of good cars still trying to slice their way through the field, Joe, after they got demoted on that earlier caution. And they're quickly running out of butter. They've got to put something on the bread and make a sandwich, and they're going to have to do it in a hurry. It might not be pretty, but as long as it tastes good, I guess that's all that matters.
Tony going from playing poker to making sandwiches. Sounds about running like a night in the Stevens household. But I digress as we continue to run here on scoring lap number 140. Ottinger, Michael Conti, Danny Hansen, your top 3. Kenny Humpy still in the top 5. Your top 5 starting to spread out from one another. But that's all going to come to a head here real quick as they start approaching lap traffic. The 66 of Ben Burmeister, he's going to get way out of the way. He's not going to choke anybody up in that one. He's going to let them all run, let them all race amongst themselves. Good move by the 66, but still leaves plenty of time for the entire field to continue to string out.
All single file throughout about your top 15 or so, looking for your first side-by-side battle. It might be back here around Schoenberg. Schoenberg in the 55-83 at Thomas Davis. We're going at it. It looked like Davis pulled his foot out of it, and he'll fall back behind the 55 for the time being as they will put the lap on Benjamin Burmeister. We look at Conti now in the 5, who is battling for the lead position up in front. A couple of car lengths in between him and your leader, Nick Ottinger, and you see him work that race car, that virtual race car, from his cockpit. 142 completed here.
And Tim, we would be remiss if we did not give a big call to Michael Conti. Yes, he's the defending series champion. Yes, we expect him to do well, but this has been a yeoman's effort tonight. When we thought on the first stint or 2 of the race that his night was toast, that he was done, the Abuto Chevrolet falling back like my wallet when we go to Vegas. Guess what? He rebounded. He hit every jackpot there was to hit. He's got one final bet he's got on the table, and that is trying to get by Nick Ottinger. But what a job by Conti and the Drill Owl group to get that 5 car back in contention, and not only in contention for a solid finish, Joe, but battling for the lead against nemesis and rival Nick Ottinger with just a handful of laps to go.
Meanwhile, back in position number 9, it's the 6 of Trey Eidson trying to hold off the number 10 machine of Corey Vincent. Cody Bias in that mix as well, as Cody Bias has another one of his drivers, the 13 of Brad Mahar, right behind him, trying to see if the team can work together to do something. Not with a 610 blockade in front of him, as a 10 now digging hard. Vincent wants to break into the top 10, the top 10, solidifies place in the top 10. He might do it, he might not. It's all a matter of time.
How about Taylor Hurst rebounding too? The 74 was mired in the back of the field after that pit stop, caution flag coming out in the middle of those green flag pit stops, and now he's up here with Bias, who was near the front of the field at that time. The 13 of Brad Mahar, who was in the top 10 before that caution flag came out during those pit stops, and Corey Vincent as well, as the 74 looks at the 13 car to try to pick up one more spot, and Trey Eidson stuck to the outside line as he will go backwards a couple of spots. There's a Cody Bias racing battle. You look back from Cody to Brad and Trey going side by side.
And this, again, Tim, is where all the action is starting to take place, right here just on the outside or at the very tail end of the top 10. Mahara gets by Eidson. Here comes Hurst, the 99 of Ivonen, having a solid run inside the top 15 in the middle of this group as well. And these guys, I think, now have run out of patience, Joe. They simply say, look, get out of my way, let me get by you, or I'm going to have to force my way around you. We've seen a few of these drivers get a little aggressive, pinching one another off, using the bumper, intimidating each other. It's getting hot and hairy here, and it's only, what, 20 laps to go as the leaders cross the stripe this time?
Something about like that. 20 laps to go at this juncture as Conti continues to chase Nick Ottinger for that position number 1. There's plenty of distance between those two, but I've got a feeling that that distance is about to close up as you see both those drivers get on the apron trying to cut through the tri-oval. At least Conti does that time around, trying to pick up position on the 0-5 of Nick Ottinger. Ottinger, Conti, Kenny Humphrey, your top 3.
Pay window is coming close, and apparently the SegPay number 32 may have got the wrong end of that, because the 32 of Danny Hansen's been falling back in these last few laps. He's got the 34 and 26 behind him, trying to dispatch him outside of the top 5 as Chad Lawton trying to make his way back up front. Tony, it was the battle between he and Humpy early in the race. Now the 05 and 5 have taken that role. Whoa. And the 26 is trying to get his nose back up here in the top 5, and Lawton is side by side, not giving that 32 an inch.
That was a gutsy move in turn 1. You're right, Tim. Did not give him an inch. In fact, took a couple of inches from Danny Hansen. In fact, Hansen might lose a spot now to Matt Busa over in turns 3 and 4 because of all that just one lap later. Maybe not. Hansen able to get back in line, but what a very authoritative move on the part of Chad Lawton. Back inside the top 5 for the first time since halfway. The downside for Chad Lawton, he's got, 17 laps to get back to the front and 2 seconds to make up. I don't exactly see that happening without the aid of the yellow flag.
And a yellow flag would be very interesting right now, because you'd see a lot of different strategies come to play here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as we get closer and closer to 10 to go. Remember, there's no overdrive finish. There's no attempt at green-white checkered in the iRacing Sim or the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. If we have a yellow flag at the end of the race with 5 to go or less, there's always a possibility the race will end under yellow.
And all these drivers, we did talk about fuel strategy earlier. A lot of these crew members up in front of these teams, they are good on a fuel, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do have to worry about that one thing Joe mentioned off on the top of the show, and that's tire management. We've had a few laps here under the green flag, and now it's really time to start pushing your race car. And now we're going to see what everybody has left. But you look back from your leaders, you were looking back from the 27 right now, Cody Bias, but when you look back from your top two, we have another player up here. Where did Kenny Humpy come from?
That's a very good question, Tim, and very, very fitting, I would think, in a way that Humpy got beat on tire strategy and long runs on Tuesday night during the B-Class race. And now tonight, he's learned from that race. He's got a car underneath him that's set up for the long run. And Humpy now is in it to win it, trying to get around Michael Conti for second, and he has reeled the top two in. Again, only the second driver we've seen do that of any sort tonight. And Joe, a lot of this is all about timing. Can you time it correctly to get up front, stay up front before the tires burn off, as now Humpy moves to second by Michael Conti with only 13 laps to go. Nick Ottinger, watch out. Kenny Humpy is a hungry man.
Kenny Humpy has found something working in that number 58 machine, and now he's going to try to hunt down the 05. Now, the question that I have for Nick Ottinger and that entire Gale Force team is, did the 05 save enough in that car? Did the 05 do enough to make sure that that car would be good for the long run?
Humpy may have grazed the fence off corner number 4. We'll see if that impacts him at all. The 5 of Conti trying to get back into the picture for that battle for position number 2. And guys, it might be too little too late, though Chad Lawton was quicker than the leader the last time by. Behind him, we have a battle for position at number 5, with Crabtree going to lose it to Matt Busa. Busa going to try to pick it up here, and the 15 going to slide back in to position number 6. I think he's going to run out of laps, Tony. But one of the more consistently faster drivers on the racetrack, Chad Lawton, last time by 29.90 to a 29.95 for Nick Ottinger. It might be too little too late, but if that 5 car of Conti decides to cliff, he might be there for third at the end of this.
And Tim, looking on Twitter, if you're following under the hashtag InPass, a little bit of chatter from the Gale Force team and Nick Ottinger. His Toyota beginning to get tight, losing front grip, gaining rear grip, however you want to look at it, and that's not good when Kenny Humpy is breathing down your neck. The 58 looks good and golden at this point. He is all over Nick Ottinger. The difference has been about a half a tenth every single lap, and this last lap, no different. Humpy on Ottinger as they work by Benjamin Burmeister. Burmeister very slow at the top of the racetrack, trying to stay out of the way as Brad Mahar nearly slides up into it.
Here comes the 58. He is doing everything he can as they go back and forth, side by side. Now the 58's going to try it high one more time to try to get around the 05 Ottinger. Ottinger, nothing's going to happen this time around. He's saved the car. He keeps it moving forward, but Kenny Humpy not satiated. Turns 3 and 4 this time by. Humpy continues to run second. Ottinger still finds a way to hold on with less than 10 to go.
Little wiggle from the 58 that time by in position number 2. Ottinger down to the apron, trying to give him the high side if he wants it down the front straightaway. 58 of Humpy. Looks like he's got the faster race car, but he's got to get by the 05 of Nick Ottinger in order to get there. Conti becoming a little bit smaller in the rearview mirror, and Chad Lawton actually gained 2/10 over the last 2 laps on your front 3. But still, he's not going to get there in just 7 laps. 7 to go for the 05 and 58.
This is what it's all about, Tim. Simply put, now look at Ottinger and Humpy. Seems to me this is lower on the racetrack than they've been running all night long. Ottinger running defensively, Humpy following every bit in his tire tracks each and every circuit around the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and I'm starting to wonder how much of this now is gamesmanship. How much of this is Kenny Humpy trying to worry Nick Ottinger to death until the final couple of laps, or how much of this is simply Kenny Humpy using his stuff up before the checkered flag. We're only a couple of laps from finding out, Joe, but here goes Humpy. Look at that car in the center. Closes it on Ottinger. Humpy looks to the inside. The battle for the lead down the Nellis straightaway here at Las Vegas.
Side by side going into turns 3 and 4. Humpy's got the advantage, but Ottinger's not going to
he got into him!
Ottinger gets into the 58, turns right into him, and that ends Ottinger's run. It's going to be the 58 or the 5. I'm not sure who had the lead when it came down. Right now, the 5 being scored as the leader. But it's going to be the 58. One of those 2 drivers will win, should walk away with this race, considering we are exactly at 5 to go now, guys.
Joe, the 05 can't move, so I don't know if that's that's not going to be an issue between the 05 and the 58. because that car is destroyed. It's going to need a front clip and then some. And we might have a one-lap dash to determine the end of this race. Last time by the stripe, it was Conti scored as the leader, but it looks like the 58 will take the lead. And Nick Ottinger has left the server. I don't think Nick Ottinger is going to be a very happy camper after this, but Tony, when you look back at the last race we had at Daytona in this series, didn't the battle for the lead be the last caution flag in that one too?
It was. That's when Tyler Laughlin, in a very similar fashion, unfortunately, lost the lead to Ray Alfala. Unfortunately for Nick Ottinger this time, it was him who took the wild ride. When you go back and watch the replay in slow-mo, and depending on the angle you look at, Ottinger tried to take a very wide arc, of course Humpy right beside him, and Humpy had to pinch that car down maybe more than he was used to all night long, Joe. And just right when Ottinger was starting to head to the apex of the corner, just slightly, Humpy pushed up the racetrack enough to get into Ottinger. They made contact. Ottinger overcorrected and just destroyed his Camry in the outside wall. And by the time the caution came out, Humpy was in front of the field. But as Tim said, I do believe we may have a 1 to 2 lap shootout to settle it. And if you're Kenny Humpy, you know Mike Conti, Chad Lawton, Matt Busa, those are not the guys you want behind you when it comes time to go or go home.
You know, I'm watching that replay for probably the fourth time now, guys, and I'm trying to reflect on that comment that the 05 team made on Twitter, that it was losing bite off the corner, it was losing that front grip. So I'm wondering exactly who got into who. If the 05 came down or if the 58 came up. This is a night where I'm glad that I'm not an iRacing official, because these guys are going to have to pour over every piece of data they can to figure out what exactly happened in that incident. Lights remain on. We'll come back to 165 here when we cross the start finish line, and we'll see where exactly it lies, and where exactly we'll be seeing that, if we have a restart, or how many laps will be in that restart. Lights remain on as we score 165. If we have a restart, it will be a 1-lap dash for the cash.
And when you look at that replay, it looked like Humpy might have hit the bump down there in corner number 3. That track's not completely smooth down into corner number 3. And Ottinger may have pinched a little bit. And why not, Tony? Because you're going for the lead position. You don't want to give him as much room as he needs, per se, to operate down there. Give him enough room to get in there and at least have him a shot. And it's a tough break for Nick Ottinger. Ottinger comes close to winning this one. He ends up out of the event. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ottinger finished all of P41 last week. And with only one drop in this series, when it looks at point standings between now and round number 12, he's going to need a little bit of help, per se, to get himself back in here. He's going to need some other drivers to have 2 bad races. You look at Michael Conti, there's a driver that finished in 31st 1 week ago, or 2 weeks ago, per se, at the first round of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. And he's hoping that the same fate does not get to him, Tony, because he wants to stay in this these couple of top positions and have a good points night, per se. He might even win this thing.
Very well could, Tim. Let's see what happens with the pace car if Race Control decides to go ahead and call it a shootout here as we come down to complete lap 165. 2 laps to go at the stripe. They would have to go 1 to go this time. Survey says yes. It is a 1.5 mile dash, a single trip around Las Vegas to settle the second NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series race of the season. Humpy versus Conti, Lawton versus Busa, everyone versus everyone. Oh boy, get your chips ready, place your bets on the table, because the final set of dice are getting ready to be thrown on the craps table.
Well, Tony, this is exactly what the fans have been hoping for, and exactly what the drivers have been praying against. Because at this point, with 1 lap to go, you don't have any friends out there. You don't have any teammates out there. You don't have anybody out there that's going to give you the hand you need to win this race. It's every man for himself. It is 1 lap around the Gladiators ring. And whoever's left standing in the end will have deservedly earned their spot in the race.
We will remind you, once the driver in front, Kenny Humpy, takes the white flag, the next flag will be the checkered flag. The yellow flag will not be displayed once your leader takes the white flag. Pace car is in. Kenny Humpy and Michael Conti. Conti on the outside trying to play some games here. Humpy laying back. Here comes the green flag as we are...
Oh, they're crashing, Tim!
And there's the caution. He did not take the white.
Did not take the white, took the caution. Tyler Hill, the 9, was the car that got punted into the outside wall. He was on the outside lane that got backed up by Mike Conti's attempted jump, and that has stacked them all up and sealed Kenny Humpy's fate, Joe, as the winner here in Las Vegas.
Well, that was a short-lived shootout. One-lap dash for the cash. The lap will now turn into a victory lap, early victory lap for the 58 of Kenny Humpy. This well-earned win by Humpy. His car has been strong all night. He's been running good all night long. Led a lot of laps out here, and now Kenny Humpy will make it come full circle. He didn't defend the season opener at Daytona last week, but hey, winning the second race of the season ain't that bad.
And it looks like Busa is going to be scored in third through all that. Chad Lawton in fourth, Patrick Crabtree fifth. They're waiting for the pace car to make their way by, and then Kenny Humpy can come by and collect the checkered flag. We're waiting for the iRacing Ford Mustang pace car to pass the field. It's coming out of corner number 4 here now, and Kenny Humpy will go to victory lane for his first victory at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Checkered flag in the wind here, and Humpy will join Jake Sturgis, Marcus Lindsay, Brad Davies, and Sandeep Banerjee as winners in the NASCAR Peak Antifree Series at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Conti, Busa, Lawton, and it looks like Danny, who that was, because Crabtree was scored there the last time by, but nevertheless, you have a top 5 that there's a couple of drivers there, Tony, that played a little bit of pit strategy, but you think about it, at the end of the day, Kenny Humpy was strong at the first. He's going to come out with this victory.
He was strong all race long, Tim. Another driver that we saw last week on iRacing Night on Fans Choice TV and iRacing Live, where he was able to learn from that Xfinity or the B-Class Series race in iRacing, figure out what he needed or didn't need to do to his race car, whichever the case might be, and able to put himself and his team to task, and they were able to come out as the victors here in Las Vegas. That is what you like to see when guys hit the racetrack, Joe. They're able to think, they're able to take data and apply it to the big show, which was tonight, and Kenny Humpy did just that. So for the second time in 2 seasons, Kenny Humpy will visit a victory lane in the NASCAR Peak Antifree Series, and this certainly is going to set him up good for another shot at the championship, a shot that I think he felt he deserved last year. It just came up short for a couple of different reasons.
Third career win for Kenny Humpy here in the NASCAR Peak Antifree Series. A strong car for him all night. Turns into a win here at the track, and it definitely is a boost to his season. It's definitely going to give him the jump start he needs to move forward in this series. But as we've talked about before, you don't win the season in race number 1 or 2. You win it in the aggregate of the season. We still have 15 weeks to go here, guys. And in 15 weeks, a lot of things can happen. But Kenny Humpy knows one thing. He's at least a little bit closer to the $10,000 payday at the end of the season.
You mentioned they might not be able to win it, but I'm sure Nick Ottinger can probably fight that you might be able to lose it in 1 or 2 races. Tough break for Ottinger, but we'll talk to our top 5 finishers in this NASCAR Peak Antifree Series powered by iRacing, round number 2 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Just a few moments' time. Humpy's your winner. Don't go away.
Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. Got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about.
Ah!
You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this.
I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval, and that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself, and they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building two tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result, and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and my, oh my, what a race we have seen, Joe. I never thought we would see the finish we saw at Daytona to end that race. Not unexpected. Daytona can be a little hairy sometimes. Then the way this race played out, the pit strategy, the flags falling in the middle of pit stops, the way drivers were motivated to run their way back through the field, and then we saw another finish between two veterans of the series, two veterans of sim racing, and two very, very hungry characters. Nick Ottinger's season possibly could be over already before it's even started. And Kenny Humpy, though he visited Victory Lane, he could be in a heap of trouble before it's all over with too.
Well, you're absolutely right. What you saw was a tale of two races there. The beginning of the race, very calculated, very controlled, very, very intelligent driving by all the drivers. Then you saw the second half of the race, high risk, high reward. You see a lot of drivers making very, very risky moves, very calculated moves to try to get up front. And at the end of the day, it was a very, very high risk maneuver that ultimately won this race, Tony.
High risk, high reward, and maybe the house isn't exactly happy with how you pulled it off. Liken it to card counting, if you will, as far as what Kenny Humpy just did. There might be more to this story before the next 2 weeks roll around when we end up at Auto Club Speedway in California. Nonetheless, he takes home a trophy tonight, and that's Kenny Humpy. Tim Terry is standing by with the winner. Tim?
Down here in Victory Lane with Kenny Humpy, driver of the number 58. And Tony talked about the house and what happened on that last start. Let's talk about what happened there. Coming to the white flag, which ended up being the caution flag, bring us down to that final restart.
Well, first off, I got to apologize to Nick Ottinger for that accident we had there. I don't know exactly what happened. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I just had a good run off of turn 2 there and just kind of tried to go for it. And I went down into turn 3 and started hitting them bumps, and it was just hard to pass down on the bottom, and I should have known a little better than that. So I got to apologize to him first. But, yeah, that final restart, I knew it was going to be a lot of wheel spin. We all knew it was going to happen. We're on 30-some lap tires just trying to get going, and it's like ice out there. But then I figured we didn't make it back to the line before the caution came back out. But we were lucky to stay ahead. But like I said, I hate to win them like that. That's not the way I'd like to win.
Seems like there's always some sort of pit strategy in these races at Las Vegas. This time it's a caution flag in the middle of green flag pit stops in the middle of this race. You caught the lucky break there. Talk about what had happened there on that caution flag that came out during those green flag pit stops.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the caution flag was for. I know that me and Chad had a pretty decent lead, and we had kind of had a plan there that he would pit the lap before I was going to, and we heard a bunch of people calling out they were pitting. So Chad went down pit road. It was a tough break for him because he had a really fast car as well, and he got trapped. But I stayed out that extra lap, and as soon as I was coming down pit road, the caution came out, and I got the wave around the pace car before the caution came out, and I was able to luckily hold the lead, and that was a major break because it's so hard to pass here, and everybody's so tight. It's been hard to come back from that, and Chad did an awesome job coming back.
Early in the season, unofficially, you're going to be 3 points out of the lead. Patrick Crabtree occupies the top spot in the point standings. Yes, it is early, but how big of a momentum boost can this be heading in to these next couple of races and heading down the line in this season?
Oh, I think it's huge. Our majority of the schedule is on 1.5 mile tracks, and to come out here and run as well as we did tonight, I know I didn't win it like I'd like to, but we still had a really fast car, probably two of the fastest, me and Chad. But to be able to just come out and make a statement like that this early in the season on the first 1.5 mile track, it's an awesome deal, and hopefully we can, like you said, carry that momentum on to the rest of the season. I'm not really worried about the points as yet. I mean, we got to get a lot of weeks in. I know last year I led the points there for the first few weeks, and it feels good to be up that high in points, but in the end, I mean, you got to just keep putting together the finishes, to round out the season.
Before we let you go, Auto Club Speedway comes up in 2 weeks, but tomorrow there's a brand new build, so this car is likely going to change a little bit. How much of a change are you expecting, and what can fans expect out of the Auto Club Speedway when they tune into 2 weeks?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the new build all it entails. I know they're making a lot of changes that kind of fit the next year's rules. So I mean, that's also going to change stuff with setups and all that sort of thing. But I don't know how much it'll change the racing. Hopefully, it makes it a lot better, and we can just keep on putting good shows on. And I don't know as far as what the racing's going to be like, but hopefully it's just as good as it was tonight, and we can continue having a good year.
And there's your winner this evening, Kenny Humpy. Very exciting finish. It's the best overhead door and vinyl siding at number 58. And I believe Joe Cortez has caught up with our second place finisher here this evening, defending series champion Mike Conti.
Michael Conti, defending series champion, has a good finish in second tonight. Let me ask you this, though, real quick, Mike. If we had a one-lap dash for the cash, do you think you could have enough to challenge for the win?
Well, I don't know, Joe. That's really hard to say. It was tough to restart tonight with the way that the tires went through the heat cycles and lost a lot of grip. So that last restart was really tough. I mean, I was trying to plan it, and Kenny and Chad did a good job of backing up the field and getting a run. So I'm gonna answer your question with a no, but you never know. I mean, I got down there pretty quickly, maybe a little bit too quickly. So that was really borderline right there to begin with. So. I'm happy with how it turned out. Our main performance PC, Abuto Chevy SS, was not championship material tonight. We were just out to lunch, especially down the straightaways. Felt like we had the tapered spacer on it a day early because we weren't doing very well in that department. But we made a lot of good adjustments with David Ankeny, Jason Loafing, and Greg Spears. Good adjustments, good strategy there in the middle of the race, and we ended up with a really solid finish.
Tonight was a real tough race on many different levels. How were you and your team able to mitigate this car and mitigate all the changes that took place, especially from the first half of this race when the car looked like it was suffering a little bit?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's tough. We don't have a lot of adjustments to make to the cars currently to really fix them if they're out to lunch like we were tonight. But we kind of figured out in the middle of the race that the front end was too far up off the track, so the splitter is way up, and we were creating a lot of drag down the straightaways, and that was slowing us down, especially top end speed was really off. Acceleration up off the corner was bad too, and I think we might have had the wrong gear in, so we really shot ourselves in the feet tonight, to be quite honest with you, with how we set these things up. But a little bit of tire pressure in the middle, some cross weight, kind of got the right rear down out of the air a little bit more, and put some tape on it. I mean, pretty much used every available adjustment that iRacing gives us to try to make the cars better, and we did. They weren't great at the end. They definitely fell off after 25, 30 laps. But the way that the race went at the end with the cautions, that really saved myself and Danny especially. It really put two cars that didn't have any place in the top 15 up in the top 5. So I can't be any happier with that. A win would have been fantastic, mind-blowing, really. But just things didn't quite work out well. If Kenny would have slid up the track a little bit more after him and Ottinger got together, maybe I could have gone low. But at that point, I was saying to everybody, I'm just happy to be here, and I don't want to do anything too risky to throw away a good finish. So overall, I'm pleased with how everything went tonight.
2 weeks' time, Auto Club Speedway with a brand new build, with a brand new iRacing build. What are you guys anticipating? And is the new build going to change any of your strategy coming in to Auto Club in 2 weeks?
Yeah, they iRacing put out the release notes today, so we kind of have an idea of what we're going to be putting into the cars in the next couple days to try to compensate for what's changing. Rear shock damping, more perch in the back, a lot of things. Of course, the reduced downforce and the tapered spacer are the two biggest things, but there's some stuff that we can do in the garage now to compensate and try to actually make more speed than we are currently, especially through the corners. We might be a little bit slower down the straightaway, but might be able to make more grip in the corners with how they're going about things. So Auto Club is all about the corners, really long and flat, so you have to have a lot of mechanical and aerodynamic grip. So we're going to work on sealing the splitter off a little bit more for next week, because that was definitely where we were lacking tonight. But I can't say enough for everybody that supports us at the drill aisle. We I'm not going to say change teams at the end of last year, but we rebranded, tried to put everybody under one roof, one name, to try to create more of a team atmosphere instead of having satellite team here, satellite team here, there. It just didn't really make any sense anymore. We worked with everybody anyway every week. So I just want to thank the drill aisle, of course, May Performance PC, Abuto, Sim Pedals, SegPay, and Light and Movie for coming on board this year. Pro Geek, the RCRL, JDR Graphics, and a whole laundry list of people. Garrett Smithley for all of his support, bringing big name sponsors into this series, which is always great. With his real life racing career taking off, our series here, the Peak Antifreeze series, is really starting to take off too. So I can't thank him enough, and everybody back at iRacing for giving us this platform to race on. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. So again, happy with tonight. Need to work on some speed for Auto Club, but we got a great group of guys here, and I'm sure we'll figure it out for Auto Club.
Michael Conti finishing second tonight in the number 5 Abuto Gaming Cockpits Chevrolet SS. Let's go down to Tony Stevens, caught up our third place finisher, Matt Busa.
Caught up with Matt Busa. Probably one of the more surprising runs of the night for you, Matt. But, you were up in the top 10 most of the evening, just a little bit short there at the end. Did you have anything for Humpy or Conti on the one-lap restart?
Well, on the one-lap restart, you never know. With the tire spin and everything, may have had a nice run out of 2. But as far as the race as a whole, I feel like I deserve a third place, and that's what we got. So I'm happy with that. I didn't have anything for Humpy or Chad. And
anytime you can walk away from Las Vegas and feel like you broke even, it certainly is a good night. Beats losing money, no doubt. In a couple weeks, we'd go about 4 hours down the interstate to Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. New rules package, essentially, new race car you're going to have to contend with, and a racetrack that we haven't seen with a lot of action here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. What are you preparing for? What kind of race do you think we can expect, and can we see the 34 car have a very similar run in 2 weeks' time?
Yeah, I think we can expect pretty much overall the same racing, maybe a little bit closer racing, but I think all the normal guys will be up front. The good teams will get the setups dialed in, and as far as me, I'm hoping we can have about the same run. Maybe 2 spots better would be nice, but I'm actually taking a little vacation next week, so I'll have to do a lot of testing maybe on Friday and this weekend, so I can have something decent for when I come back on Monday.
Certainly testing and practice time is what it's all about. Matt Busa finishes third here at Las Vegas, a season high for him. He's going to be rolling into California with a lot of momentum and I'm sure a lot of confidence. And the guy that finished fourth is standing by with Joe Cortez.
Chad Lawton started on the pole of tonight's race, finished fourth in what has been an up-and-down race all night. Chad, what happened to the car out there?
Car was pretty good for most of the night. Led the first 29, 30 laps or something like that. It was good racing for the first quarter, and we went ahead and pitted under green, and caution came out. And from that point on, I was just trying to escaped the havoc in the back part of the field, and somehow was able to get back up to the top 5 and come home with the 4th.
2 weeks' time we'll be at Auto Club Speedway, but you'll have the added challenge of the new build to contend with. Any concerns about how that new build might affect the car going to Auto Club?
Not really concerned. I'm hoping it's not like the B car and we're sitting there on the throttle all the way until the center of the corner. So I'm just hoping it should be good for us. We put in a lot. We have a lot of good set guys, and we kind of have a good knowledge of what does what in the setup. So we should be fine in California. It's my hometown track. I seem to always run good there. I have a, that's an exciting track for me to go to.
Real quick before we go, you had a run-in with the 66 of Brian Burmeister. From your point of view, what happened in that incident?
I got a really good run off of 4, and I think the guy in front of him didn't get a good run. I don't know who it was. I think it was Tyler. I don't know who it was. And he wasn't sure. I think he wasn't sure whether he wanted to go the outside because that was the preferred line, or he wanted to go the inside. He kind of just sat there. So he sat there in the middle of the track. So I put my nose down low. There was a space there, and he seen what I was doing, and he knew he wasn't going to get around the guy in front of him. And to me, it looked like he just cut down, and I was able to turn right and just get away just in time. That's basically what I saw. iRacing sees other things, so we'll see what it comes down to when the results come out in a few days.
Chad Lawton finishing 4th tonight in the number 26 machine. Tim Terry's caught up with our 5th place finisher, Danny Hansen.
Danny Hansen coming home in position number 5 here this evening, and it was an up-and-down night for you, Danny. Started back in 19th, ran up to the front, and through all the middle portion of the race, pit strategy, everything else, you come home with top 5. Talk about your run.
Yeah, we started around 19th, and we started. I mean, at the start of the race, I was talking to my guys and I was saying, hey, the balance feels really great, but I think it was about 15 laps in, we kind of figured out that there was something fundamentally wrong with the overall setup that the whole team was running. It just like it didn't want to get off the corners right, and it wasn't a balance issue. We're not too sure. We're going to go back to the drawing board and take a look at actually what it was, but definitely was shaping out to appear to be a long night, and then I can't believe the kind of finish we got out of that.
And it's going to give you a good point night as well. Looks like unofficially in 13th place after the 2 races. Obviously, it's a long way to go till we hit the Homestead Miami Speedway. Auto Club Speedway comes up in 2 weeks' time. When we talked to Mike Conti, he mentioned that the setup was a little bit off on his race car. What do you have to do to work towards that Auto Club Speedway, knowing with that new build coming up that could change a few things?
Well, the new build definitely going to throw a wrench in things. One of those things where we'll have to buckle down and make sure the car's right. A little bit more than we did this race. Auto Club's one of my favorite tracks. Finished 2nd there last year, and if we have a car that runs anything like it did last year, we'll be in contention. Looking forward to that.
Now, I know you have a lot of teammates, but we did have a tweet earlier in the race from Garrett Smithley cheering you on. How big is it to have a guy like Garrett in your corner with SegPay on the race car, helping you through these races?
Yeah, how cool is that? I mean, me and Garrett have been friends for a long time, and you just made his Craftsman Truck Series, Camping World Truck Series debut, and it's really cool to have an up and comer in the NASCAR series doing some live tweets, and it's awesome to have SegPay on the car. They came aboard at the end of last year, and we weren't really able to get a really good run for them. Getting 5th is awesome. I know there's a few SegPay employees that follow back at the office, so I want to thank them for all their support, and we're looking for some more good runs with them on the car this year.
And that's Danny Hansen finishing in position at number 5, and I think there's more good runs in the future for that number 32 SegPay car as we move forward. And in 2 weeks' time, it is the Auto Club Speedway. And gentlemen, I think it's going to be a pretty good race that we have. There's going to be a new build come out. It's going to be a little bit different than what we're used to, but these guys are going to have 2 weeks to work on it because that new build, it comes out in a matter of hours. We have Monza. We have the new Camping World Truck Series Tundras and also the Silverados. So there's some things that you can pick up on iRacing if you haven't already. Be sure to head over. If you are a new member, you can put in the promo code PR-2015 PSRTV. You buy 1 month, you get 2 for free, and you also get the late model stock. But of course, you're going to want to pick up Monza, which also has the oval configuration, and you're also going to want to pick up the Silverado and the Tundra that come out tomorrow for the Camping World Truck Series Class C cars here on iRacing. Gentlemen, can't wait for 2 weeks. Going to be fun. But before we get there, we go with some more iRacing. It's iRacing night next week for the NASCAR Class B Open Series, the Xfinity cars on fanschoice.tv, iRacing Live. I can't wait for that either.
It's going to be fun, Tim, no doubt. And the cool part about that series, it follows essentially the real NASCAR Xfinity series. So I think those guys will actually be at Phoenix next week, which is going to be really, really cool, no doubt. And then, of course, the Peak Antifreeze series will be at Auto Club Speedway in California in just a couple weeks' time. Kind of sit back and recap the race tonight, I think, Joe. Kenny Humpy, very impressive. As were a few other drivers. Chad Lawton able to claw back. Mike Conti able to come back from what we thought was just sheer and utter disaster as far as his race went early. So they certainly had good runs, but I also look back at some of the guys that had headaches. And yes, you cannot win this championship on race number 2, but you certainly can dig yourself a hole towards losing this championship. Guys like Brian Day, major headache, barely got out of the garage, electrical issues in the Plan B Toyota. Tough break for him and the Gale Force team. Kevin King, couple of incidents that he was unable to recover from. Obviously, Nick Ottinger, his problems late in the race after dominating the last third of the event. And poor Ray Alfala got caught up in a wreck, not of his own doing, and soldiered home to about a 20-something place finish. Joe, these are guys that we expect to do well, that we expect to be in contention for championships. And so far after 2 races, with maybe the exception of Alfala, and I guess Ottinger to an extent, they're really not doing so. Could this be maybe a changing of the guard when you look at the top of the point standings with a guy like Patrick Crabtree leading the points?
No, I don't think so just yet. I don't think it's early enough to where you can say it. We can say that statement definitively. What you're seeing here tonight instead is the draw of a new generation of iRacing. What you're seeing is the change in not necessarily the guard per se, but in the quality of racing, the style of racing, and more importantly, how guys are racing each other. Years ago, they were a little bit more timid. Now, as these guys grow in maturity, as they grow in comfort in the car, you're seeing them be a lot more bold in the moves they make. And now we're starting to see what makes NASCAR so exciting every single Saturday and Sunday. We're seeing rivalries develop. We're seeing teams develop. We're really seeing art imitate life, or in this case, gaming imitating sport, which I think is the most exciting part of this iRacing series and why I think this is going to be the most exciting season yet.
It's certainly been fun to see how things work out. Guys like Patrick Crabtree, of course, sheer luck that he caught that caution flag when he did, but he had the talent, he had the speed to be able to stay up there in the top 5 and finish up in 6th spot, and he'll lead the points going into Auto Club in just a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, we'll have a recap on Fans Choice TV in the next few days, but Joe, Auto Club Speedway, very different. 2 miles, relatively flat, very wide, very low in grip, and a whole new rules package that we have to play with. What do you think we're going to see at Auto Club in a couple of weeks' time, or can we even predict it?
I think at this point, your guess is as good as mine. New build, which may or may not affect the track, which will definitely affect the cars. It's going to be not a completely different racetrack per se, and it's a different car per se, but it is going to be definitely some subtle changes that will affect these drivers. The only thing that is constant in NASCAR and the iRacing NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, change. That's the only constant, and in 2 weeks' time, well, not even that, 1 week's time, when it's NASCAR, when it's iRacing night, we will see those changes come into effect, and we will see how these drivers can come up with those changes and make compensations for what should be a very interesting night of racing next week.
It's going to be fun. Can't wait to head to the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix International Raceway next week, I believe it is, for the B-Class Series, and then Auto Club Speedway for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series in 2 weeks' time here on these same exact network affiliates that you're watching us on here tonight. Might be iRacing Live, PSR TV, MRN Radio, or even Fans Choice TV. Glad to have you aboard on any and all of those websites watching here live tonight. On behalf of the entire PSR TV and iRacing Live crew, Joe Cortez, Tim Terry, my name is Tony Stevens, saying we'll see you in 1 week's time for the NASCAR iRacing B-Class Xfinity Style Series, and 2 weeks from tonight for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series at California. Until then, have fun at the racetrack, and we'll see you at the races. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Sorry, guys. I never would have thought making duck calls would have stirred up this much excitement.
No kidding. Got him coming up here.
Shortcut time!
That's what I'm talking about. You sure this is a good idea?
Oh, yeah. I got this.
I can't guarantee you how this will end, but Pete can guarantee your radiator for life. Introducing the Peak Run True Guarantee. Check it out at peakguarantee.com.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval, and that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself, and they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building two tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result, and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
slides it into 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.